The first blow caught Maya Reynolds square in the forehead, sending stars across her vision. Blood trickled down her face as the gang leader towered over her, his grin revealing yellowed teeth. "Just a delivery girl," he sneered. Her right hand twitched almost imperceptibly as 15 years of classified operations crystallized into this moment. The restaurant's elderly owner watched in horror, unaware that the woman he'd hired 8 months ago wasn't delivering just food tonight. As the thug reached for her collar, Maya's eyes sharpened with lethal focus. Some predators never learn. The most dangerous creatures are those that don't advertise their deadliness. What happened next would become legend in Ridgefield. Comment below if you've ever misjudged someone who proved to be extraordinary. The autumn wind whispered through the streets of Ridgefield, Washington, carrying the scent of pine and the promise of an early winter. Dead leaves skittered across the cracked asphalt, like nature's ticker tape dancing past the weathered sign of hometown treats. A small family-owned restaurant that had stood on the corner of Maple and Pine for nearly 4 decades. Inside, the warm glow of pendant lights illuminated a dozen wooden tables most empty on this Tuesday evening. A bell chimed as the front door opened and Maya Reynolds stepped inside her delivery bag slung over one shoulder. At 38, she moved with the confident grace of someone comfortable in her own skin. Her auburn hair was pulled back in a practical ponytail, highlighting high cheekbones and intelligent green eyes that missed nothing. "Order for the Hendersons is ready, Maya," called Giovanni Rossi from behind the counter. At 65, his once black hair had faded to silver, but his hands remained steady, as they had been when he first opened the restaurant after immigrating from Italy. His weathered face creased with a smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. Maya nodded, slipping the packaged food into her insulated bag with practiced efficiency. "Everything okay, Gio?" she asked, her voice soft but clear. "You seem worried." The old man's shoulders tensed slightly. He glanced toward the kitchen door before leaning closer. "It's nothing," he said, but his trembling fingers betrayed him as he wiped down the already spotless counter. Maya said nothing, but her eyes narrowed almost imperceptibly. She'd been in Ridgefield for 8 months, long enough to know when something was off. Giovanni had been jumpy for days, startling at every phone call, checking the street through the blinds when he thought no one was watching. "The Hendersons live up on Hillcrest, right?" she asked, zipping the bag closed. "Should take me about 15 minutes each way." "No rush tonight," Giovanni replied, his Italian accent thickening with stress. "Business is slow." Maya nodded again, her gaze sweeping the restaurant in one fluid motion, taking in the empty tables, the slightly ajar office door, the small security camera with its red light, uncharacteristically dark. Details catalogued and filed away with unconscious precision. Outside, the crisp October air bit at her cheeks as she unlocked her car, a nondescript blue Honda Civic that blended in with the modest vehicles lining the streets of Ridgefield. Nothing flashy, nothing memorable, just how she liked it. The radio murmured local news as she navigated the familiar roads. Local authorities expressed concern about the expansion of organized crime from Portland northward. Business owners are advised to report any suspicious activity or demands for protection money. Maya turned the volume up slightly, her expression unchanged as the report continued. The group known as Red Serpents has been linked to extortion, drug trafficking, and violence across 3 counties. Her knuckles whitened briefly on the steering wheel before she consciously relaxed them. 8 minutes later, she pulled into the Hendersons' driveway, a tidy colonial house with a basketball hoop above the garage and cheerful mums flanking the front steps. Mrs. Henderson answered the door, her silver hair perfectly coiffed despite the late hour. Maya always on time. She smiled, accepting the bag. How's Giovanni doing? We heard some troubling things about businesses being pressured downtown. Maya's face revealed nothing. He's hanging in there. You know Gio's stubborn as they come. Well, you tell him the Hendersons are rooting for him. This town's been through tough times before. She handed Maya a 20 for a $12 order. Keep the change, dear. That's generous, Mrs. Henderson. Thank you. As Maya turned to leave, Mr. Henderson called from the living room. Be careful driving back downtown. Saw some rough-looking characters hanging around the old hardware store earlier. Not the usual Ridgefield crowd. Maya nodded her thanks for the warning, her casual demeanor betraying none of the alertness that now hummed through her system. On the return drive, she took a slightly different route, eyes periodically checking the rearview mirror. A black SUV with tinted windows idled at the corner of 4th and Elm engine running, despite no one entering or exiting. Two men leaned against the brick wall of the convenience store, eyes tracking her car as she passed. Neither seemed definitively suspicious on its own, but together they set off the quiet alarms Maya had learned to trust long ago. When she pulled into the alley behind Hometown Treats, her instincts shifted to high alert. A sleek Dodge Charger with custom rims occupied her usual parking spot, its glossy red paint job catching the security light. A vanity plate read KNCKLS. Maya parked further down the alley, killed the engine, and sat motionless for 30 seconds. Her right hand moved to the glove compartment before stopping. Instead, she grabbed her phone and stepped out, approaching the restaurant's back entrance with measured steps. Through the kitchen window, she could see Giovanni backed against the industrial refrigerator, his face ashen. 3 men stood before him, 2 facing him directly, while a third, broader figure stood with his back to the window. Even in profile, the leader's presence commanded the space shoulders squared beneath a leather jacket, one hand gesturing emphatically, while the other rested near his waist. Maya slipped her phone back into her pocket and quietly tested the back door. It was unlocked, a break in routine that confirmed her suspicions. Giovanni always locked it after the dinner rush. She eased it open with practiced silence, stepping into the shadowed storage area adjacent to the kitchen. $5,000 a month is generous, old man. Other places, we ask for 10. The voice was deep rough with cigarettes and authority. Consider it insurance. Accidents happen to restaurants all the time. Kitchen fires, health code violations, broken windows. Please, Giovanni's voice trembled. This place barely breaks, even most months. I cannot. The sound of glass shattering cut him off. Maya peered around the doorframe to see a shattered plate on the floor, the leader's boot grinding the fragments into the tile. That's just one plate, the man said, his tone conversational. Imagine all your windows looking the same way. Imagine your ovens not working. Imagine customers getting food poisoning because someone tampered with your ingredients. Now Maya could see him clearly, mid-40s, powerfully built, with a scar running from his right temple to the corner of his mouth. His dark hair was cut military short, and a tattoo of a red serpent coiled up his neck, its forked tongue flicking near his ear. The 2 others were study and contrasts, one tall and heavily muscled with a shaved head, the other whip-thin with nervous energy and watchful eyes. All 3 wore the same red serpent somewhere visible, a ring, a wristband, a lapel pin. I'll give you until Friday, the leader continued. 5,000, cash, and then the same every month. He nodded to the larger man, who casually picked up a chair and smashed it against the wall. Giovanni flinched, his shoulders slumping in defeat. The old man's eyes suddenly widened as he spotted Maya in the doorway. The leader caught the look and turned sharply. Maya had already composed her features into a mask of confusion and fear. She clutched her delivery bag to her chest like a shield. I'm sorry, she stammered. I just got back from a delivery. The leader's cold eyes assessed her, dismissing her almost instantly as a threat. Well, well, didn't know Geo hired such pretty delivery girls. His gaze slid over her in a way that made her skin crawl, but she maintained her frightened expression. Maya, go home, Giovanni pleaded. We're just having a business discussion. She stays, the leader countermanded. I want her to deliver a message, too. He stepped toward her, invading her personal space. Tell everyone who works here that Mr. Thompson is their new partner. Ryan Thompson. Some people call me Knuckles. He flexed his hand, showing scarred knuckles. Remember that name. Maya nodded quickly, eyes downcast, shoulders hunched to appear smaller than her 5'7" frame. Every fiber of her being wanted to react differently, but 15 years of training held her in check. Not yet. Not here. Thompson turned back to Giovanni. Friday. No excuses. And he gestured to his men, and they swaggered toward the door, the taller one deliberately bumping Maya's shoulder hard enough to make her stumble. She caught herself against the wall, letting the delivery bag fall to the floor in a show of clumsiness. The thin one snickered. After the bell chimed announcing their departure, Giovanni collapsed into a chair, hands shaking. Maya, I'm so sorry you had to see this. These men, they've been pressuring businesses all over town. Maya set her bag aside and began calmly picking up the broken chair pieces. How long has this been going on? They came first last week, just to introduce themselves. Today was the first real threat. He ran a hand through his silver hair. The police say they're investigating, but these gangs are smart. They know exactly how much pressure to apply without crossing lines that would bring serious attention. Maya nodded, her movements now precise and controlled. You should go home, Gio. Get some rest. I'll clean up here. No. I can't ask you to. It's not a problem, she insisted gently. Go home to Sophia. She'll be worried. After a few more protests, Giovanni finally agreed, gathering his coat and keys. At the door, he paused. Maya, maybe you should look for another job. These people, they're dangerous. A shadow of something, not quite a smile, touched her lips. I'll be fine, Gio. Don't worry about me. After locking the door behind him, Maya moved with newfound purpose. She retrieved a small flashlight from her pocket and methodically examined the restaurant, checking for listening devices or cameras that might have been planted. Finding none, she returned to the kitchen and pulled out her phone. Instead of the keypad, she pressed a specific pattern on the screen, opening a hidden application. She typed a brief message, contact established, red serpents operating in Ridgefield. Leader identified Ryan Knuckles Thompson. The response came less than a minute later. Intel confirmed. Maintain cover. Additional information requested. Maya closed the application and wiped down every surface she had touched, removing fingerprints with practiced efficiency. 20 minutes later, she left through the back door, double-checking that it was properly locked. The drive to her small rental house on the outskirts of town was uneventful, but she took 3 extra turns to ensure she wasn't followed. Her home sat back from the road, partially obscured by pine trees, private, without seeming deliberately isolated. The porch light cast a warm glow over simple wooden steps and a swing that gently rocked in the autumn breeze. Inside the house was sparsely but tastefully furnished, nothing expensive or attention-grabbing, but comfortable, practical. The living room held a modest couch, a coffee table stacked with mystery novels, and a television she rarely watched. The kitchen was clean but showed signs of actual use. A coffee mug in the sink, fruit in a bowl on the counter, a magnetic notepad on the refrigerator with a grocery list. Maya moved directly to the bedroom, where she slid open the closet door and knelt on the hardwood floor. Her fingers found a nearly invisible seam between two boards. With practiced pressure, a small section of flooring lifted away, revealing a hidden compartment. From this hiding place, she extracted a metal lockbox and placed it on the bed. The combination lock yielded to her touch, and the lid opened to reveal the tools of her true profession: a satellite phone, a slim laptop with government encryption, a Glock 19 with suppressor extra magazines, and a collection of ID badges with her photo, but different names. Also inside were files, some physical, some on encrypted drives bearing the FBI seal. She removed one particular file labeled Operation Serpent's Tail and spread the contents across the bed. Photographs of known Red Serpent's members stared up at her, including a younger Ryan Thompson during his dishonorable discharge from the Marines 8 years earlier. Maya picked up the satellite phone and dialed a number from memory. "Secure line," answered a male voice. "Sierra Echo 784 reporting," Maya responded using her operational code designation. "Go ahead, 784. Thompson made contact with our primary location tonight, threatening posture-specific monetary demands. 5,000 due Friday." Her voice had transformed completely crisp professional, without a trace of the nervous delivery girl she'd portrayed earlier. "Casualties or collateral damage?" "Minor property damage only, but they're escalating faster than projected. Timeline may need adjustment." A brief pause. "Your assessment of Thompson?" "Dangerous but predictable. Classic bully psychology with military training. His lieutenants are Viper and Slash, according to their tattoos. Viper is muscle low intelligence. Slash is the one to watch, observant, jumpy, likely to react first in a confrontation." "Acknowledged. Central wants full network identification before action. Continue monitoring and infiltration as planned." Maya's jaw tightened slightly. The restaurant owner is vulnerable, elderly, attached to his business. They'll hurt him to make a point. We understand the concern, Agent Reynolds, but the bigger picture remains priority. These are just the local faces of a multi-state operation. We need the suppliers, the money men. "Understood," she replied, professional, despite her frustration. "Request permission to accelerate intelligence gathering." Another pause. "What's your proposal?" "I'll offer to deliver to their local headquarters. Plant surveillance, gather intel on their operation faster than passive monitoring would allow. Risk assessment, manageable. They've already categorized me as a non-threat. A frightened delivery girl is practically invisible to them. Proceed with caution. No unnecessary exposure. Check in every 12 hours. Acknowledged. And Maya," the voice softened slightly, "Carter sends his regards, says to remind you about Tucson." A rare smile crossed her face. "Tell him I haven't forgotten." After ending the call, Maya carefully returned everything to the lockbox, except for a small listening device and a thumb-sized tracking beacon, which she placed in a hidden pocket of her delivery bag. She replaced the lockbox in its hiding place and returned the floorboard to its original position, indistinguishable from those surrounding it. In the bathroom, she washed her face and stared at her reflection. The woman looking back at her wasn't Maya Reynolds' delivery driver, nor was she fully Special Agent Maya Reynolds' FBI undercover operations. After 15 years of assuming identities, the lines sometimes blurred. She thought of Giovanni, of his weathered hands and proud eyes when he spoke of building his restaurant from nothing, of his wife Sophia, who brought homemade cannoli to the staff every Sunday, of Ridgefield itself, a town that still left porch lights on and doors unlocked, at least until recently. Her assignment was to track the Red Serpents back to their suppliers and leadership, to gather evidence for a federal case that would dismantle their entire operation across multiple states. Giovanni's restaurant was just one data point in a much larger investigation. But that didn't mean she would let him become collateral damage. Maya slept lightly that night as she did every night, one part of her mind always alert, cataloging sounds ready to transition from sleep to full consciousness in seconds if needed. When dawn broke, she rose and performed her daily ritual, 30 minutes of rigorous exercise focused on strength and flexibility, followed by 20 minutes of meditation to center her mind. After a quick shower, she dressed in her Maya the delivery driver uniform, jeans, a Hometown Treats polo shirt, and comfortable sneakers that she could run in if necessary. Her hair went back in its practical ponytail, and she applied minimal makeup enough to look presentable, but not enough to draw attention. She arrived at the restaurant 15 minutes before her shift began, finding Giovanni already there, eyes red-rimmed from lack of sleep. "You didn't have to come in today," he said, attempting a smile. "After last night, it's just a job, Gio," she replied with a casual shrug that belied the determination beneath. "We all have bills to pay." The morning passed slowly, with few customers braving the increasingly chilly weather for breakfast or lunch. Maya used the downtime to memorize the faces of every patron, noting regulars versus strangers, watching for anyone who might be affiliated with the Red Serpents. Just after the lunch rush, such as it was, she approached Giovanni in the kitchen. "I've been thinking," she said, keeping her voice casual as she assembled delivery orders. "Maybe we should deliver something to those guys from last night." Giovanni's head snapped up. "What are you, crazy? Why would we do that?" Maya shrugged. "Make peace, show goodwill. My dad always said you catch more flies with honey than vinegar." The lie rolled easily off her tongue. Her father, a mathematics professor in Seattle, had never said any such thing. But Giovanni didn't know that. "It's too dangerous," he protested. "These aren't people you reason with." "Just a peace offering," Maya insisted. "Something small. Your famous lasagna, maybe, with a note saying you're considering their offer." She held his gaze. "It buys time, Gio. Time to figure something out." The old man hesitated, then slowly nodded. "Maybe you're right, but I'll deliver it myself." "They've already seen me," Maya countered smoothly. "I'm just the delivery girl, remember, no threat. If you go, it looks like surrender already. This way, it's just diplomatic." After further gentle persuasion, Giovanni reluctantly agreed. He spent the next hour preparing his signature lasagna with trembling hands, while Maya watched the street through the front windows. At 2 o'clock, a familiar Dodge Charger cruised slowly past the restaurant. Maya noted the direction it headed and filed the information away. When the lasagna was packaged, Giovanni wrote a brief note. "Considering your proposal, need more time to arrange funds. Please enjoy our signature dish as a gesture of goodwill." "Do you know where to take it?" he asked, handing Maya the package. "I heard them mention a place off Highway 12, she lied. "The old warehouse district." Giovanni frowned. "Maya, if you feel anything is wrong, anything at all, you drive away. Promise me." She nodded, affecting nervousness she didn't feel. "I promise." The warehouse district sprawled across the northeastern edge of Ridgefield, a relic from when timber had been the town's main industry. Most buildings now stood abandoned windows, broken roofs, sagging under decades of neglect. A few had been repurposed for storage or small manufacturing operations, but many remained derelict, perfect for organizations that preferred privacy. Maya drove slowly through the area, eyes scanning for the red Charger or other signs of Red Serpent's activity. Near the far end of the district, she spotted 3 vehicles parked outside a warehouse that showed signs of recent renovation, new security lights, fresh paint on the doors, and notably no broken windows. She parked her Honda a block away behind an abandoned loading dock that obscured it from the street. From her delivery bag, she extracted the small tracking device and carefully attached it to the underside of the lasagna container positioned so it would likely be discarded with the packaging rather than discovered. Then she activated the listening device, tucking it into her bra, where it would pick up conversations while remaining hidden. A small receiver in her ear disguised as a wireless earbud would allow her to monitor any recordings later. Maya approached the warehouse on foot, carrying the delivery bag as if it were an ordinary food order. She adopted the slightly hurried walk of someone eager to complete a task and get back to safety, shoulders slightly hunched, eyes darting nervously. At the entrance, a security camera swiveled to track her movement. She pretended not to notice it, instead raising her hand to knock on the metal door. Before her knuckles made contact, it swung open, revealing the tall, muscular man from the previous night, Viper. "Well, look who it is," he sneered, blocking the doorway with his substantial frame. "Little delivery girl's got balls coming here." Maya widened her eyes, projecting fear. "Mr. Thompson said to remember his name. I brought something from Giovanni. A gift. To show respect." Viper's eyes narrowed suspiciously, but the scent of lasagna wafting from the bag seemed to sway him. "Wait here." He snatched the bag and disappeared inside, leaving the door ajar. Through the gap, Maya caught glimpses of the warehouse interior, retrofitted with office furniture, a pool table, several computers, and a large table covered with papers. 3 men she hadn't seen before lounged on couches, while Slash paced near a far door, talking animatedly on a phone. Moments later, Thompson himself appeared, lasagna container in hand, his cold eyes assessing her with new interest. "Bold move," he said, leaning against the doorframe. "The old man sending his pretty delivery girl into the lion's den." Maya lowered her gaze. "It was my idea, actually. Giovanni's a good boss. I don't want to see his place trashed." Thompson's eyebrows rose slightly. "Your idea? Now that's interesting." He studied her face. "You don't look like the type to stick your neck out for an employer." She shrugged, the picture of resigned pragmatism. "Jobs are hard to find in this town, and I need the money." "Money problems," his tone suggested opportunity. "Who doesn't have them?" she countered, then quickly added, "The lasagna's getting cold. Giovanni makes the best in town. It's a peace offering." Thompson smirked. "Tell the old man I appreciate the gesture, but the terms remain the same." He started to close the door, then stopped. "What's your name again?" "Delivery girl." "Maya." "Maya?" he repeated, testing the name. "We order a lot of food around here. Maybe we'll request you specifically next time." She nodded, taking the implied dismissal as her cue to leave. As she turned away, she deliberately stumbled, dropping her keys. The clumsy movement allowed her to glance under nearby vehicles, noting license plates and VIN numbers visible through windshields. Thompson watched her with amusement as she gathered her keys, offering a little wave as she hurried back toward the main road. Only when she was out of sight did she slow her pace, her posture straightening, her movements becoming precise and economical once more. Back in her car, she activated her phone's hidden application and documented everything she'd observed: descriptions of new Red Serpent's members, vehicle identifications, fragments of conversation overheard, and the general layout of their headquarters. The warehouse location itself was significant, close to the interstate, easy access to Portland and Seattle, ideal for distribution operations. The presence of multiple computers suggested either a sophisticated operation or significant record-keeping. Either way, valuable intelligence for the FBI's larger investigation. Maya's instincts told her Thompson would indeed order food delivery soon, both to test her reliability and to further assess her as a potential vulnerability in Giovanni's operation. It was exactly the opening she needed. When she returned to Hometown Treats, Giovanni's anxious face greeted her at the door. "Thank God," he breathed. I was about to call the police. Did they? Were they? It was fine, she assured him. They took the food. Thompson said he appreciates the gesture, but the terms are unchanged. She delivered the message matter-of-factly, watching the hope drain from the old man's eyes. I cannot pay them such money, he whispered. This place is all I have. All Sophia and I built together. Maya squeezed his shoulder gently. One day at a time, Gio. We'll figure something out. That evening, after closing the restaurant, Maya drove home, taking an indirect route once again. The quiet streets of Ridgefield scrolled past her windows, the hardware store where old men gathered to play chess, the elementary school with its colorful playground, the town square with its gazebo still decorated for the recent harvest festival. For most residents, Ridgefield represented safety community, the small-town American ideal. Few understood how vulnerable such places were, how quickly organizations like the Red Serpents could establish roots corrupting from within while maintaining a veneer of normalcy. Maya had seen it happen in towns across the country during her 15 years with the FBI's undercover operations. She'd helped dismantle criminal enterprises in rural Michigan, coastal Oregon, suburban Texas, places where residents believed that sort of thing doesn't happen here until it was happening all around them. At home, she retrieved her satellite phone from its hiding place and contacted her handler. Sierra Echo 784 reporting. Surveillance initiated at primary Red Serpent's location. 7 members identified on site. Evidence of distribution operation confirmed. Good work. Transmit all data for analysis. Request permission to accelerate timeline. Target has expressed interest in establishing direct contact through delivery services. A longer pause than usual. That's moving quickly. Central had projected at least another week of reconnaissance. Thompson is more aggressive than intelligence suggested. He's either under pressure from above or sees Ridgefield as soft territory. Either way, he's moving fast. Understood. Permission granted for direct contact protocols. Same restrictions apply intelligence gathering, only no intervention without backup. Acknowledged. Maya hesitated, then added, request update on extraction team availability. Strike team is on standby in Portland. 40 minutes to your location if needed. Copy that. After ending the call, Maya uploaded all her gathered intelligence to the secure server. Then she settled in her living room with a cup of tea, reviewing mental maps of the warehouse, cataloging faces running through contingencies. The phone rang at 7:28 p.m., not her personal phone, but the delivery line for Hometown Treats that forwarded to staff after hours. Maya answered on the third ring. Hometown Treats delivery were closed for the evening but open tomorrow at I want to place an order, interrupted a familiar voice. Thompson. Mr. Thompson, she acknowledged, injecting recognition and a touch of nervousness into her voice. I'm sorry, but the kitchen is closed. Maybe tomorrow. Not food, he cut in. A conversation. Just you and me. I have a business proposition. Maya hesitated, allowing the silence to stretch, just as a genuinely surprised delivery driver might. I don't understand. Sure you do, Thompson replied, his tone knowing. Smart girl like you, taking initiative, worried about keeping her job. I respect that. I think we could help each other. I just deliver food, she protested weakly. And information, apparently. I'm offering you the chance to make real money, $500 a week, just to keep me informed about what the old man is doing, who he talks to, if he contacts the police. Maya made a small gasping sound. You want me to spy on Giovanni? I prefer to think of it as being a consultant. All businesses need consultants. I don't know. Think about it, Thompson pressed. Meet me tomorrow. The diner on Highway 12. 3 o'clock. Come alone, obviously. He chuckled at his own joke. "Don't make me come looking for you." The line went dead. Maya lowered the phone slowly, her mind racing. This was developing faster than expected, an opportunity and a risk simultaneously. Thompson was creating a direct channel, but also showing dangerously specific interest in her. If he decided to run a background check on Maya Reynolds, the carefully constructed identity might withstand initial scrutiny, but a determined investigation would eventually find inconsistencies. She needed to move quickly. Maya accessed her secure laptop and sent a priority message to her handler. "Target has initiated recruitment attempt. Meeting scheduled tomorrow, 1500 hours at Highway 12 Diner. Request surveillance support and accelerated timeline authorization." The response came almost immediately. "Authorization granted. Surveillance team will be in position. Transmitter package being delivered to dead drop location by 0900 tomorrow. Extraction team on high alert." Maya closed the laptop and leaned back, closing her eyes. The operation was shifting phases from passive intelligence gathering to active infiltration. The risks increased exponentially with each step deeper into the Red Serpent's organization. But risk had been her constant companion for 15 years. From her first undercover assignment, infiltrating a white supremacist group in Idaho, to the cartel operation in Arizona that had nearly cost her life, Maya Reynolds had walked the razor's edge between identities, between worlds. Sometimes she wondered which version of herself was the disguise Maya, the delivery driver, or Special Agent Reynolds of the FBI. Or if, after so many years of transformation, any version was entirely real anymore. A text message interrupted her thoughts, not on her operational phone, but her personal one. From Giovanni: "Please be careful, Maya. These men are dangerous. Maybe take tomorrow off." The genuine concern in the message tugged at something in her chest. In her line of work, real connections were rare and dangerous. Attachment to people in her cover life created vulnerabilities, complicated extractions, clouded judgment. Yet as she typed a reassuring response to the old man, Maya acknowledged the truth. Giovanni and his restaurant had become more than just elements of her cover story. And that made what would happen next both more complicated and more necessary. She set her phone aside and moved to the bedroom. From the closet, she retrieved a small case containing specialized equipment, a more sophisticated listening device that could transmit to FBI surveillance vehicles, a panic button disguised as a hair tie, and a miniature camera embedded in a realistic-looking button. Tomorrow, Maya Reynolds would take her first formal step into the Red Serpent's organization. The delivery girl would begin her transformation into something else: an informant, a traitor, a valuable asset to criminals who had no idea they were welcoming a federal agent into their midst. As she prepared the equipment, checking each piece with methodical precision, Maya allowed herself a rare moment of anticipation. This was why she joined the Bureau 15 years ago, after her sister's murder at the hands of a drug cartel. This moment, when she stood at the threshold of dismantling an organization that destroyed lives, families, and communities. Outside her window, the lights of Ridgefield twinkled in the distance, a constellation of homes and businesses that had no idea the battle being waged in their midst. A war conducted in whispers and coded messages, in surveillance photos and wire recordings. A war Maya had dedicated her life to fighting one criminal organization at a time. Tomorrow would bring her one step closer to winning another battle in that endless war. And Ryan Knuckles Thompson had no idea what was coming for him. Dawn broke over Ridgefield with reluctant gray light filtering through a blanket of autumn clouds. Maya rose before her alarm, her body attuned to the rhythm of operations rather than the luxury of natural sleep cycles. Today would determine the trajectory of everything that followed success or failure, infiltration or exposure. She dressed with particular care, selecting items that supported her cover while concealing her equipment. Dark jeans that allowed freedom of movement, a maroon Hometown Treats polo shirt that would help the button camera blend in, and a black jacket with hidden interior pockets. Her hair went up in a ponytail secured with the panic button hair tie positioned where she could activate it with a seemingly casual gesture of tucking hair behind her ear. At precisely 8:45 a.m., Maya drove to the designated Dead Drop, a self-storage facility on the edge of town. Unit 247 was rented under a shell company controlled by the Bureau. She entered using a key from her lockbox, quickly located the magnetic case hidden behind a stack of empty moving boxes, and transferred its contents to her various concealed pockets. Before leaving, she sent a confirmation code via her secure phone. Package received. Operational status, green. At Hometown Treats, Giovanni looked even more haggard than the previous day. His normally immaculate chef's coat bore sauce stains, and his silver hair stuck out in uncombed tufts. "I didn't expect you today," he said, surprise momentarily lifting the worry from his face. After my text, Maya shrugged, setting her delivery bag on the counter. "Can't hide forever, right? Anyway, I need the hours." She hesitated, then added, "Actually, I might take a longer lunch break today. Got some errands to run." Giovanni nodded absently, already turning back to the kitchen where a pot threatened to boil over. "Of course, whatever you need. We're slow anyway." Throughout the morning, Maya maintained her routine with practiced precision, taking orders, making deliveries, chatting with regular customers. To any observer, she was simply Maya, the delivery driver, concerned about her job, but otherwise unremarkable. Inside, her mind operated on multiple tracks, cataloging every vehicle that passed the restaurant more than once, noting the positions of security cameras along her delivery routes, mentally rehearsing contingencies for the afternoon meeting. At 2:30 p.m., she approached Giovanni in the kitchen. "Taking that long lunch now, if that's okay." The old man nodded, distracted by a phone call that had left him even more agitated than before. As Maya turned to leave, he suddenly called after her. "Maya, wait." He pulled a small paper bag from beneath the counter. "Some cannoli. Sophia made them fresh this morning." The unexpected gesture caught her off guard. "Thank you," she said, genuine warmth coloring her voice. "You're a good person," Giovanni said quietly. "Whatever happens with this business, I want you to know Sophia and I consider you family now." Something tightened in Maya's chest, a sensation she'd learned to suppress over years of undercover work. Attachment was dangerous. Sentiment compromised judgment. And yet, "That means a lot, Gio," she replied carefully, tucking the bag into her jacket pocket. "I'll be back soon." The Highway 12 diner sat alone on a stretch of road halfway between Ridgefield and the interstate, a chrome and neon throwback to the 1950s that had seen better days. Its parking lot was half empty when Maya pulled in at 2:50 p.m., immediately noting the red Charger parked near the back entrance. Two other vehicles she recognized from the warehouse were positioned with clear sightlines to all approaches. Maya parked in plain view near the front entrance, making no attempt to conceal her arrival. She waited in her car for exactly 3 minutes, long enough to appear hesitant, but not so long as to suggest she was coordinating with others. As she stepped out, she activated the transmitter concealed in her watch, with a subtle twist of the dial. The button camera was already recording its feed, transmitting to a surveillance van that would be parked somewhere within a half-mile radius. The bell above the diner door jingled as she entered. Inside, red vinyl booths lined windows streaked with rain, while the scent of coffee and grilled onions hung in the air. A handful of truckers hunched over plates at the counter, paying no attention to her arrival. Thompson sat alone in the farthest booth, his back to the wall, facing the entrance. One hand rested on the table beside a coffee cup. The other remained below the table, likely resting on a weapon Maya assessed. His eyes tracked her as she approached, missing nothing. "Right on time," he remarked as she slid into the opposite seat. "I appreciate punctuality." A waitress approached immediately, coffee pot in hand. "Something to drink, hun?" "Just water, thanks," Maya replied, adding a nervous smile. As the waitress walked away, Thompson leaned forward. "No one followed you?" Maya shook her head. "No, I told Giovanni I had errands." "Smart girl." His eyes studied her face with uncomfortable intensity. "You know why you're here." It wasn't a question, but Maya nodded anyway, affecting the anxious demeanor of someone out of their depth. "You want information about Giovanni, about the restaurant." Thompson's mouth curved in a predatory smile. "That's part of it, but I think you could be valuable in other ways, too." The waitress returned with Maya's water, interrupting momentarily. Thompson waited until she was out of earshot before continuing. "I've been watching you, Maya. You're observant. You notice things. You're careful." He tilted his head. "Not qualities I typically associate with someone who delivers pasta for minimum wage plus tips." Maya took a sip of water to buy time, her mind racing through responses. Thompson was shrewder than his thuggish appearance suggested. He'd picked up on something in her behavior that registered as incongruous. The infiltration had barely begun, and already her cover faced scrutiny. "I've had to be careful most of my life," she replied, injecting a hint of bitter truth into the lie. "Made some mistakes when I was younger. Learned to pay attention to my surroundings." Thompson nodded slowly. "Mistakes. We've all made them. Some of us have records to prove it." He raised an eyebrow questioningly. "Nothing official," Maya said, looking down at her hands. "Just bad relationships, bad decisions, debt." The last word she emphasized, slightly knowing financial pressure was the most believable motivation for betrayal. "Debt?" Thompson repeated, satisfaction in his tone. "Now we're getting somewhere." "How much?" Maya hesitated, then answered, 28,000. "Student loans for a degree I never finished. Credit cards after I lost my job in Portland." "What brought you to Ridgefield?" "Fresh start, cheap rent, no one asking questions." Thompson nodded again as if she'd confirmed his suspicions. "And how's that working out for you?" "The fresh start." Maya gave a hollow laugh. "I deliver food to people who can afford to eat out. I go home to an empty house I can barely pay for. I lie awake wondering how I'll ever get out from under." She leaned forward, allowing genuine intensity to enter her voice. "So when you offer me 500 a week just to tell you what an old man is doing, yeah, I'm interested." Something shifted in Thompson's expression. A predator, recognizing prey, a commander identifying a useful asset. 500 to start, he corrected. "Could be more depending on how things develop." Maya widened her eyes slightly. "What would I have to do?" "For now." "Exactly what I said. Keep me informed about Giovanni's movements. Who he talks to, if he contacts the police or tries to organize with other businesses." Thompson tapped his fingers rhythmically on the table. "Simple observation, nothing that puts you at risk." "And later," Maya pressed, knowing she needed to appear eager enough to be trustworthy, but hesitant enough to be believable. Thompson's eyes glinted. "Let's just say my organization values people who can move through the world without drawing attention. People who can deliver things discreetly." "Things," Maya repeated flatly. "Nothing that would shock you," he assured her with a smirk. "But we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. For now, let's keep it simple." From his jacket, he withdrew an envelope and slid it across the table. "First week's payment in advance. Consider it a signing bonus." Maya picked up the envelope, made a show of peeking inside at the cash, then tucked it into her jacket. "When do I start?" "You already have," Thompson replied, his gaze unwavering. Tell me what Giovanni did after our visit to his restaurant. Every detail. For the next 20 minutes, Maya walked a careful line providing enough accurate information to appear cooperative while omitting any details that might put Giovanni at greater risk. Yes, he'd called someone after Thompson left, but it was his wife, not the police. Yes, he'd seemed frightened, but he was also determined to find a way to pay. No, he hadn't spoken to other business owners that she'd seen. Thompson listened intently occasionally, asking for clarification or additional details. Maya noted how he particularly focused on Giovanni's financial discussions, storage areas in the restaurant, and delivery schedules, suggesting the Red Serpents might have intentions beyond mere extortion. Good, Thompson finally said, apparently satisfied. You'll report to me every other day. Text this number. He slid a business card across the table. When you have information, or if Giovanni does anything unusual. If I need to speak with you directly, I'll call the delivery line and place an order for special instructions. Maya pocketed the card, her fingers brushing against the panic button in her hair tie, a reminder of her true purpose, her real allies waiting unseen beyond the diner walls. What if Giovanni suspects something? She asked, voicing a legitimate concern that any informant would have. He won't, Thompson said confidently. Old men like him see what they expect to see a hard-working young woman trying to make ends meet. Your concern for his welfare makes you above suspicion. His mouth twisted in a cruel smile. People trust too easily. It's a weakness we exploit. As if on cue, the diner door opened and Viper entered, nodding once to Thompson before taking a seat at the counter. A clear signal that their meeting was concluding. One more thing, Thompson said, his voice lowering. This arrangement is between us. If I discover you've spoken to anyone else about it, police other business owners, even that pretty boy barista who makes eyes at you on Main Street, our next conversation will be significantly less pleasant. The threat hung in the air between them, all the more menacing for its calm delivery. Maya swallowed, visibly projecting appropriate fear, while mentally noting this new piece of information. They'd been watching her long enough to notice her interactions around town, cataloging potential pressure points. I understand, she said quietly. Good. Thompson's demeanor shifted suddenly, becoming almost cordial. Finish your water. We leave separately. You first, then me in 5 minutes. Viper stays behind to ensure you leave alone. Maya nodded, taking a final sip before standing. I should get back before Giovanni wonders where I am. Smart girl, Thompson repeated his earlier assessment, now carrying the weight of ownership. I think you're going to be very valuable to us, Maya. She walked out, feeling his eyes on her back, maintaining the slightly hunched posture of someone intimidated, rather than the straight-backed stance her training had ingrained. Only when she was in her car with the door closed did she allow herself a deep breath, processing the encounter with professional detachment. The meeting had gone according to plan. Contact established trust, initiated surveillance equipment successfully deployed. Thompson had revealed more than he realized about the scope of the Red Serpent's operation, his interest in the restaurant's logistics, suggesting potential use as a distribution point or money laundering operation. As Maya drove back toward Hometown Treats, she activated her secure phone at a red light, sending a coded message, Phase 1 complete. Asset status established. Target suspects nothing beyond expected caution. The response came seconds later. Transmission received clearly. Proceed with Phase 2. Team standing by. Maya deleted both messages and returned the phone to its hiding place. Phase 2 would begin tonight, using her new trusted status to access deeper information about the Red Serpent's operation, identifying key players' supply lines and organizational structure. Back at the restaurant, she found Giovanni in his office, hunched over accounting ledgers, a calculator in one hand, and a nearly empty glass of red wine in the other. "Maya," he greeted her with obvious relief. "Good errands." "Productive," she replied honestly. "Everything okay here?" Giovanni gestured helplessly at the ledgers, trying to find money that doesn't exist. He took another sip of wine. "Even if I empty our savings, I can only come up with half of what they're demanding." Maya set her delivery bag on a nearby chair. "Maybe they'll negotiate." "Men like that don't negotiate," Giovanni said bitterly. "They take and take until there's nothing left." She watched the old man return to his futile calculations, feeling the weight of her dual role pressing down on her. The FBI's operation targeted the entire Red Serpents network, a multi-state criminal enterprise involved in drugs, weapons extortion, and human trafficking. The restaurant was just one thread in a complex investigation. But to Giovanni, this was his entire world at stake. "I need to make a delivery to the Parkers," Maya said, checking the order ticket on the counter. "Their usual Thursday lasagna." Giovanni nodded absently. "Take the garlic bread, too. On the house." As Maya gathered the order, she placed the bag of cannoli Sophia had made on his desk. "Don't forget to eat something yourself." A ghost of a smile crossed his tired face. Always taking care of the old man. The simple observation stung with unintended truth. Maya was taking care of him, just not in the way he believed. Her protection operated at a level he couldn't see through channels he would never know existed. The rest of the afternoon passed uneventfully. Maya made her deliveries, maintained her cover, and observed the comings and goings around Ridgefield with the practiced eye of someone who had spent years living between worlds. At closing time, she helped Giovanni lock up, noting how his hands trembled slightly as he set the alarm. Tomorrow was Friday Thompson's deadline. "Try to get some rest," she told him as they parted in the parking lot. "Things have a way of working out." The platitude felt hollow, even as she said it, but Giovanni nodded gratefully. "You're a good person, Maya. Better than this town deserves." She watched him drive away, the taillights of his old Buick disappearing around the corner before she pulled out her secure phone once more. "Target remains vulnerable. Request permission to implement protective measures while maintaining overall operation integrity." The response took longer this time. "Define proposed measures." Maya detailed her plan, a controlled intervention that would protect Giovanni while advancing the broader investigation. It was unorthodox, risky in some respects, but she argued it served both the immediate tactical need and the strategic objective. After several minutes, authorization came through. "Proceed with caution. Maintain cover as primary directive. Support team will be in position as requested." That night, Maya made her preparations with methodical precision. The tools of her trade were laid out on her kitchen table: surveillance equipment, a slim lock-picking set, gloves, and specialized electronics for bypassing security systems. Nothing that could be traced back to the FBI if discovered, everything designed for deniability. At midnight, dressed entirely in black, with her auburn hair concealed beneath a dark cap, Maya slipped out of her house and into the shadows of Ridgefield. Her target was not the Red Serpent's warehouse that would come later, but a different location entirely. The town slept around her as she moved like a ghost, through back alleys and service roads, avoiding the predictable patrol routes of local police. 15 minutes of careful navigation brought her to her destination, Ridgefield First National Bank. The bank's security was standard for a small-town camera's alarm system, time-locked vault. None presented a significant obstacle to someone with Maya's training. Using a device that intercepted and looped the camera feed, she created a blind spot near the employee entrance. The electronic lock yielded to a specialized decoding tool, and the alarm panel was temporarily bypassed with a custom interface connected to her phone. Inside, Maya moved efficiently through the darkened bank, her small flashlight revealing only what she needed to see. The manager's office was unlocked, small-town complacency working in her favor. The computer powered on silently its login screen, no match for the encryption-breaking software she connected via USB. Within minutes, she had access to the account she sought. A few careful keystrokes, and the transaction was complete, untraceable, appearing completely legitimate to any subsequent audit. Maya logged out, erased all evidence of her presence, and exited the bank as silently as she had entered. The entire operation had taken less than 17 minutes. Back in her car, parked 3 blocks away in the shadow of an abandoned warehouse, Maya sent a simple text from a burner phone. Deposit confirmed. Account balance updated. By the time she returned home, showered away all evidence of her nighttime activities, and settled into bed, it was nearly 2 a.m. She allowed herself 4 hours of sleep, enough to function optimally while maintaining her cover the next day. Morning arrived with heavy rainwater streaming down Maya's windows in sheets that distorted the world outside. Appropriate weather for what promised to be a pivotal day in the operation. At Hometown Treats, she arrived to find Giovanni staring at his phone in disbelief, his weathered face transformed by shock. "Maya," he called when she entered, his voice unsteady. "The strangest thing, a deposit in our business account. $2,500. The reference says Emergency Business Grant." She arranged her features into a mask of surprise. "That's amazing. Did you apply for something?" "No, nothing," Giovanni said, still staring at the banking app. "I called the bank, and they confirmed it's legitimate. Something about a local business support initiative I apparently qualified for." He looked up, eyes bright with unshed tears. "It's half of what Thompson is demanding. A miracle." Maya smiled, genuine satisfaction warming her chest, despite the deception. "See, I told you things have a way of working out." Giovanni's phone rang, the specific ringtone he'd assigned to his wife. He answered immediately, his rapid Italian revealing his excitement as he shared the news with Sophia. While he was distracted, Maya sent a text message to the number Thompson had given her. "Something happened. Giovanni received unexpected money. He's talking about trying to negotiate with Thompson now." The response came almost immediately. "Where did the money come from? Some kind of business grant. He's excited, thinks he can make a deal now." 3 dots appeared, disappeared, then reappeared as Thompson composed his reply. Finally, "Tell him nothing changes. Full amount due today. I'll come personally at closing time." Maya showed the exchange to Giovanni when he finished his call, watching his momentary hope fade into resignation. "At least I can offer half," he said, straightening his shoulders with dignity. "Maybe he will see I am making a good faith effort." "Maybe," Maya agreed, though she knew better. Thompson wouldn't accept partial payment, but that was part of her plan. Throughout the day, Maya maintained her routine while coordinating the next phase of the operation through carefully timed bathroom breaks that allowed her to use her secure phone. The FBI surveillance team confirmed positions around the restaurant ready to document the evening's interaction, but instructed not to intervene unless the panic button was activated. As closing time approached, Giovanni grew increasingly anxious, checking his watch every few minutes, startling at every sound. The last customers left at 8:30 p.m., and Maya began the closing procedures with deliberate calm, trying to project reassurance she didn't entirely feel. At 8:55 p.m., headlights swept across the front windows as a vehicle pulled into the parking lot. Giovanni's breath caught audibly. "It will be okay," Maya told him, squeezing his shoulder gently. "Remember, you're offering half now, half later. It's reasonable." The front door opened despite the closed sign, and Thompson entered alone, a calculated power move that suggested supreme confidence. His eyes scanned the restaurant, noting Maya's presence with a slight nod before focusing on Giovanni. "Right on time," Thompson remarked, shrugging off his leather jacket to reveal a tight black t-shirt that did little to conceal the gun holstered under his arm. "Do you have my money, old man?" Giovanni stepped forward, dignity in every line of his body, despite his fear. "I have half, 2,500. The rest I can pay next week with interest." Thompson's expression hardened. "That wasn't the deal." "Please," Giovanni said, his voice steady. "I am trying to work with you. This is all I could raise on short notice." "Not my problem," Thompson replied coldly. "The terms were clear. 5,000 today." Maya watched the exchange from behind the counter, her body tensed for what would come next. Her hand drifted casually to her hair, adjusting the tie that concealed the panic button, not activating it yet, but preparing. "Perhaps we can discuss," Giovanni began, but Thompson cut him off with a dismissive gesture. "There's nothing to discuss. You pay in full, or we have a problem." He stepped closer to Giovanni, using his height advantage to intimidate. "And you don't want to have a problem with me." Maya moved then, stepping between them with practiced casualness. "Mr. Thompson, please. Giovanni's offering half now with good faith. Surely that counts for something." Thompson's eyes narrowed as they shifted to her. "Stay out of this, delivery girl. This doesn't concern you." "I work here," she replied, injecting a tremor into her voice while positioning herself precisely where the button camera would capture every detail. "This place is my livelihood, too." For a moment, confusion flickered across Thompson's face, the informant he'd recruited seemingly breaking cover to intervene. Then his expression darkened with anger, interpreting her actions as betrayal. "I thought you were smarter than this," he growled, grabbing her arm roughly. "Apparently, I was wrong." The moment his fingers closed around her wrist, Maya's training screamed for her to respond, to twist, free strike vulnerable points, neutralize the threat. 15 years of combat instincts demanded action. But the operation required restraint, demanded she maintain her cover as a frightened delivery driver. "Please," she whispered, allowing genuine tears to fill her eyes, not from fear, but from the effort of suppressing her defensive reflexes. "He's trying his best." Thompson's grip tightened painfully. "You know what happens to people who disappoint me." Giovanni moved then, his protective instincts overriding his fear. "Let her go. This is between you and me." Thompson's focus shifted back to the old man exactly as Maya had intended. His grip loosened slightly as he turned, and in that crucial moment, the back door burst open with a resounding crash. 3 men in dark clothing rushed in, faces concealed behind ski masks, wielding baseball bats and crowbars. "Police!" one shouted unconvincingly. "Everybody down!" The sudden chaos unfolded exactly as Maya had orchestrated. Thompson immediately released her, reaching for his concealed weapon. Giovanni dropped to the floor in terror, and Maya, in the confusion, activated her panic button with a swift motion disguised as covering her head protectively. The robbers focused immediately on Thompson, one swinging a bat that connected with his shoulder, driving him to his knees. Another knocked the gun from his hand before he could aim it. "The safe!" the third man shouted, grabbing Giovanni. "Open it now!" As Giovanni stumbled toward the office, Maya caught a swift, subtle nod from one of the masked men. Confirmation that these were her FBI colleagues executing the plan precisely as arranged. The robbery provided perfect cover for what was really happening, a controlled intervention designed to protect Giovanni while maintaining Maya's cover and advancing the larger investigation. Thompson fought back with surprising skill, landing a solid punch that sent one agent staggering backward. But he was outnumbered and caught off guard. A precisely placed strike, calibrated to incapacitate without causing permanent injury, sent him crashing into a table. Maya played her role perfectly, cowering behind the counter, occasionally peeking out with an expression of terror as the choreographed violence continued. Her button camera captured everything: Thompson's possession of an illegal weapon, his assault on a civilian, his resistance to what appeared to be law enforcement. Within minutes, the situation was under control. Thompson lay zip-tied on the floor, blood trickling from a cut above his eye. The robbers had Giovanni on his knees near the safe, making a show of collecting the very money Thompson had come to extort. "You'll regret this," Thompson spat, glaring at the masked men. "You have no idea who you're dealing with." One of the agents leaned close to Thompson, whispering something that made the gang leader's face go pale. Maya couldn't hear the words, but she knew the script, a carefully crafted message, implying these were rival criminals claiming Ridgefield as their territory, warning the Red Serpents to back off. The entire robbery lasted less than 7 minutes. The agents took the money, Thompson's weapon, and his phone before disappearing through the back door as suddenly as they had appeared. The sound of screeching tires marked their departure. In the sudden silence, Maya rushed to Giovanni, helping him to his feet with genuine concern. "Are you hurt? Should I call the police?" The old man shook his head, still trembling. "No police. No police." His eyes darted to Thompson, who was struggling against his restraints on the floor. "They'll kill me if I talk to police." Thompson glared up at them, his expression murderous despite his vulnerable position. "Cut me loose, now." Maya hesitated, then slowly approached him, projecting reluctance and fear, while inwardly calculating her next move. This was the most delicate part of the operation, maintaining her cover while advancing to the next phase. "Why should we help you?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "You were threatening us." "Because if you don't," Thompson replied, his tone deadly quiet, "every member of my organization will hunt you down. Both of you. Starting tonight." Giovanni made a small, broken sound. "Maya, please. Do as he says." With trembling fingers that concealed perfect precision, Maya untied Thompson, careful to maintain the image of a frightened civilian while positioning herself to defend against any sudden attack. Thompson rose slowly, his eyes never leaving her face. For a heart-stopping moment, Maya thought he might lash out, blow her cover, force her to reveal her training, compromise the entire operation. But instead, he straightened his clothing with deliberate calm, wiping blood from his face with the back of his hand. "Give me your phone," he demanded, holding out his hand to Maya. She handed over her civilian phone, the one Thompson knew about, not the secure device hidden in her delivery bag. Thompson scrolled through it quickly, checking recent calls and messages, then handed it back. "You didn't call anyone during this?" "Good." He turned to Giovanni. "This changes nothing. You still owe me 5,000. Those men took my phone, so I'll contact you when I have a new one. Don't even think about going to the police." Giovanni nodded rapidly, clearly relieved that Thompson wasn't extracting immediate revenge. Thompson's gaze returned to Maya, studying her with new intensity. "You, outside, now." Heart pounding with authentic tension, Maya followed him into the parking lot, where rain continued to fall in a silver curtain that obscured the world beyond the restaurant's immediate vicinity. Thompson walked to his car, checked it for damage, then leaned against the hood, regarding her thoughtfully. "Interesting timing," he remarked. "A robbery tonight of all nights." Maya wrapped her arms around herself, partly for effect and partly against the genuine chill. "I was terrified," she said truthfully. though not for the reasons Thompson would assume. And yet, he continued, his voice dangerously soft. You positioned yourself between me and the old man earlier. Why would you do that when you're supposedly working for me? Here was the critical juncture, the moment that would either cement her cover or destroy it. Maya had prepared for this contingency, knowing Thompson's intelligence made him dangerous. I panicked, she admitted, allowing genuine stress to color her voice. I thought if something happened to Giovanni, I'd lose my job, my income. And then, what use would I be to you? She met his eyes directly. I wasn't protecting him. I was protecting my position. Thompson considered this, rain plastering his dark hair to his forehead, making him look younger and somehow more dangerous. Self-interest, he finally said. That, I understand. Maya nodded, relief washing through her that he'd accepted the explanation. But, Thompson continued, stepping closer, until she could smell the metallic scent of blood from his facial cut. If I ever suspect you're playing both sides, what happened in there will seem like a children's birthday party compared to what I'll do to you. Clear, crystal, Maya whispered. Thompson reached out suddenly, his hand cupping her cheek in a gesture that might have seemed tender, if not for the latent violence behind it. I still think you could be valuable to us, Maya. Even more so now. She stood perfectly still, fighting every instinct that screamed at her to break his wrist, to create distance, to neutralize the threat. Instead, she made herself look directly into his eyes with a perfect simulation of fearful submission. What do you want me to do? She asked softly. Thompson's mouth curved in a satisfied smile. Those men took my phone, my contact list. I need you to deliver a message to my associates at the warehouse. Tell them what happened here and that I need a secure pickup. Maya's pulse quickened. This was an unexpected opportunity, access to the Red Serpent's headquarters under Thompson's direct authorization. A chance to gather intelligence that might have taken weeks to obtain otherwise. Now, she asked, glancing at the rain-swept parking lot. It's late. Now, Thompson confirmed, his tone brooking no argument. Take your car. I'll wait here with the old man to ensure you deliver the message and return promptly. The implied threat to Giovanni was clear. Maya nodded her understanding, already calculating how to maximize this opportunity while maintaining operational security. What exactly should I tell them? Tell Viper that Code Red is in effect. Location compromised. The wolf needs extraction. He'll understand. Thompson's eyes narrowed. Repeat it back to me. Code Red is in effect. Location compromised. The wolf needs extraction. Maya recited obediently. Good girl, good. Thompson stepped back, gesturing toward her car. Don't take detours. Don't call anyone. Go directly there and back. I'm timing you. Maya nodded again, walking to her car with measured steps that betrayed none of the adrenaline now coursing through her system. This was an operational goldmine. Code Red protocols would reveal emergency contingencies, chain of command, possibly even secondary locations. As she drove through the rain-slicked streets of Ridgefield, Maya activated her secure phone, sending a rapid message to her handler. Unexpected development. Accessing primary target location with authorization. Cover intact. Target remains with secondary asset. Request surveillance. Maintain position. The acknowledgement came seconds later. Proceed with caution. Extraction team on standby. Priority remains intelligence gathering. The warehouse loomed dark against the night sky. When Maya arrived, its security lights creating pools of harsh illumination in the otherwise unlit industrial zone. 4 vehicles were parked outside now, more than during her previous visit, suggesting increased activity or personnel. Maya parked in plain view of the security cameras, making no attempt to conceal her approach. As she reached the entrance, the door opened before she could knock, revealing Viper's imposing silhouette. "What the hell are you doing here?" he demanded, surprise momentarily overriding hostility. "Thompson sent me," Maya replied, allowing her genuine tension to show. "There's been an incident. He said to tell you Code Red is in effect. Location compromised. The wolf needs extraction." Viper's expression shifted instantly from suspicion to alert readiness. He grabbed her arm, pulling her inside and shutting the door with a heavy thud that echoed through the warehouse. "Slash!" he shouted. "Get over here!" The interior of the warehouse was now fully visible to Maya and to the button camera recording everything. What had appeared to be a simple headquarters now revealed itself as a sophisticated operation hub. One section was clearly dedicated to packaging with Scales heat sealers and stacks of unmarked boxes. Another held gun cases partially concealed under tarps. Computer stations lined one wall displaying what looked like surveillance feeds from multiple locations around Ridgefield. 5 men were now converging on her position, Slash in the lead, his narrow face tight with suspicion. "What happened?" he demanded without preamble. Maya repeated Thompson's message verbatim, then added, "The restaurant was robbed. 3 men with masks. They took Thompson's phone and gun, tied him up. They said something about territory." The effect was immediate and electric. The men exchanged glances, charged with significance, and Slash began barking orders. "Lockdown protocol. Secure the product. Erase the local drives. Kane, get the emergency vehicles ready." The warehouse erupted into organized chaos, men moving with practiced efficiency to pack equipment, shred documents, and load crates into the false backs of delivery vans. Maya stood motionless, absorbing every detail, committing faces, names, and procedures to memory, while her camera recorded it all. "Who were they?" Viper demanded, looming over her. "The men who attacked Thompson." Maya shook her head. "I don't know. They wore masks, claimed to be police, but didn't act like it. They knew exactly when to come right when Thompson was collecting from Giovanni." Slash's eyes narrowed. "How convenient for the old man." "Thompson is still with him," Maya added quickly. "He sent me to deliver the message while he waits. He said to hurry." This information spurred them to even greater speed. Slash issued rapid-fire instructions into a phone using a coded language. Maya immediately began analyzing phrases that suggested drop points, alternate routes, chain of command. Within minutes, the warehouse had transformed from an operational hub to a nearly empty shell with only essential personnel remaining. The efficiency spoke of extensive planning and regular drills. This organization was professional, experienced, and far more sophisticated than initial intelligence had suggested. "You," Slash pointed at Maya. "Come with me. We're picking up Thompson." She followed him to a nondescript van with commercial plumbing logos on the side, perfect camouflage for moving through residential areas without attracting attention. Viper took the wheel, while Slash directed Maya to the middle seat, positioning himself beside her in what was clearly a security precaution. As they drove through the rainy night, Maya maintained her facade of nervous cooperation while continuing to gather intelligence. The van's interior revealed more about the operation: hidden compartments in the floor panel's communications equipment, more sophisticated than a simple criminal enterprise would typically employ a reinforced divider separating the cab from the cargo area. "How long have you worked for the old man?" Slash asked suddenly, his tone conversational, but his eyes sharp. 8 months, Maya replied honestly. "And before that, Portland. Various jobs. Nothing special." Slash exchanged a glance with Viper that Maya couldn't quite interpret. "Thompson seems to think you're useful." She shrugged slightly. I just deliver food and keep my eyes open. We'll see, Slash murmured, turning his attention back to the road ahead. When they reached Hometown Treats, the parking lot was empty except for Thompson's Charger and Giovanni's Buick. Viper parked at the rear entrance, engine idling as Slash leapt out and entered the restaurant through the kitchen door. Less than a minute later, he emerged with Thompson, who moved with barely contained fury despite his disheveled appearance. Thompson slid into the passenger seat, not acknowledging Maya's presence, as he issued crisp orders to Viper. Safe House 2, call the Portland connection. Tell them delivery schedules may be compromised. As the van pulled away from the restaurant, Maya risked a question. What about Giovanni? Thompson turned, then his eyes cold. What about him? Is he okay? A mirthless smile crossed Thompson's face. For now, he claims he knows nothing about the robbery. I'm inclined to believe him. The old fool doesn't have the spine for such a move. He studied her face. Why the concern? Maya chose her words carefully. He's my employer. My cover. Ah. Thompson nodded slowly. You're thinking like one of us already. Good. He turned back to the front. The old man lives until he's no longer useful. Right now, his restaurant provides an excellent distribution point with minimal scrutiny. The casual confirmation of her suspicions sent a chill through Maya that had nothing to do with her undercover role. The Red Serpents weren't just extorting Giovanni, they were planning to use Hometown Treats as part of their drug distribution network, potentially exposing him to federal trafficking charges if the operation continued. The van wound through increasingly unfamiliar streets, heading away from Ridgefield's center toward the more rural outskirts. Eventually, they turned onto a private drive partially concealed by overgrown vegetation leading to a modest farmhouse set well back from the road. Safe House 2, Viper announced unnecessarily as they parked behind the structure hidden from the main road. Inside, the farmhouse presented a stark contrast to its rustic exterior. State-of-the-art security systems, multiple computers, weapons stored in wall safes with biometric locks. 4 more Red Serpents members were already there setting up what appeared to be a temporary command center. Thompson immediately took charge, issuing orders with the confidence of someone accustomed to absolute authority. Maya stood quietly near the entrance, carefully positioned to observe while appearing unobtrusive. The timing is too convenient, Thompson was saying to a gray-haired man Maya hadn't seen before. 3 men professional moves, knowing exactly when I'd be collecting. This wasn't random. The older man nodded thoughtfully. Portland crew trying to move in? Maybe. Or someone leaked information. Thompson's gaze swept the room, lingering momentarily on Maya. We accelerate the timetable, move everything through the secondary routes, double security at all distribution points. Maya absorbed every word, every name, every location mentioned. The button camera continued recording, capturing evidence that would eventually dismantle not just the local operation, but potentially the entire regional network. After several minutes of discussion that revealed more about the organization's structure than weeks of surveillance might have provided, Thompson turned his attention back to Maya. He beckoned her forward. You did well tonight. Quick thinking, reliable delivery of critical information. His approval was calculating rather than warm. I think you're ready for more responsibility. Maya stepped forward, projecting eager caution. Whatever you need. Thompson glanced at the older man, who gave a nearly imperceptible nod. The restaurant is now a priority location. We're moving product through there starting Monday. You'll coordinate deliveries, legitimate food goes out. Our packages come back in. Simple. Won't Giovanni notice? Maya asked, playing her role while gathering crucial details. The old man won't be involved. Special deliveries will come after hours. You'll have a key." Thompson's eyes hardened. This is where trust becomes essential. The packages remain sealed. You don't ask questions. You follow precise instructions. The compensation reflects the increased responsibility, $2,000 per week. The sum was deliberately life-changing for someone in Maya's pretended financial situation, enough to pay off her fictitious debts within months, enough to ensure loyalty through both greed and fear of losing such income. "I understand," she said quietly. "Good." Thompson checked his watch. "It's late. Viper will drive you back to your car at the restaurant. You'll receive instructions Sunday night for Monday's operation." As Maya turned to leave, Thompson added, "One more thing." He approached her, invading her personal space with deliberate intimidation. "Tonight was a test. You passed. Don't make me regret trusting you." The drive back to Hometown Treats passed in tense silence. Viper remained taciturn, focused on scanning for potential threats or surveillance. When they arrived, Maya's car sat alone in the empty parking lot, Giovanni's Buick now gone. "Sunday night," Viper reminded her as she stepped out of the van. "Be ready." Maya nodded, watching as the van disappeared into the rainy night before entering her car. Only when she was certain she was alone did she activate her secure phone, sending an urgent message to her handler. "Critical intelligence acquired. Operation accelerating. Drug distribution through restaurant begins Monday. Request immediate analysis of transmitted data and updated operational directives." The response came within seconds. "Data received. Quality exceptional. Stand by for updated directives. Extraction team remains on alert." As Maya drove home through the darkened streets of Ridgefield, rain drumming on her car roof, she mentally reviewed the night's developments. The operation had taken an unexpected turn, but the results were undeniably productive access to the Red Serpent's emergency protocols, confirmation of their distribution network, identification of key personnel. Most importantly, she now had concrete evidence that would protect Giovanni from any potential legal jeopardy when the eventual takedown occurred. The recording clearly showed him as a victim of extortion rather than a willing participant in drug distribution. At home, Maya followed strict counter-surveillance protocols, checking for signs of intrusion, scanning for electronic devices, varying her routine in case she was being watched. Satisfied that her security remained intact, she retrieved her lockbox and downloaded the button camera's footage to her encrypted laptop, adding detailed notes about names, locations, and organizational structure. The transmission to FBI headquarters took less than 3 minutes through the satellite uplink. Within 10 minutes, her handler's response arrived. "Intelligence confirms expanded operation scope. Red Serpents connected to international suppliers through Portland Hub. Your intelligence corroborates multi-agency investigation. Primary objective updated. Maintain cover through Sunday Place. Additional surveillance at restaurant. Prepare for coordinated takedown of entire network." Maya acknowledged the updated directives, then carefully returned her equipment to its hiding place. Sunday. Less than 48 hours until the operation culminated if all went according to plan. She allowed herself a brief shower, washing away the tension of the evening before settling into bed with a professional's discipline. 6 hours of sleep would be sufficient to maintain optimal performance tomorrow. As she drifted toward sleep, Maya found her thoughts turning unexpectedly to Giovanni. His weathered face, his pride in his restaurant, his quiet dignity, even when threatened. In 15 years of undercover work, she had learned to maintain emotional distance from those caught in the crossfire of her operations. Attachment was dangerous. Sentiment compromised judgment. Yet she couldn't deny the satisfaction she felt, knowing that when this was over, Giovanni and Sofia would be safe. Their restaurant would continue serving lasagna and cannoli to the people of Ridgefield, untainted by the darkness that had briefly touched it. Sometimes Maya reflected, as consciousness faded, the small victories mattered as much as the large ones. The criminal networks would rebuild elsewhere with different names and faces. The war never truly ended. But for one small corner of the world, justice would be complete. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new deceptions, new dangers. But tonight, in the quiet darkness of her temporary home, Special Agent Maya Reynolds allowed herself the rare luxury of anticipating victory. Saturday morning dawned with unexpected brilliance, the previous night's storm having scrubbed the sky to a pristine blue that belied the tension humming beneath Ridgefield's tranquil surface. Maya rose at precisely 6:00 a.m., her body moving through her morning routine with mechanical precision, while her mind processed the operational complexities that lay ahead. Today represented the narrow interlude between infiltration and action, the critical preparation phase where mistakes could compromise everything. By Monday, the Red Serpents would expect her to begin moving their product through Giovanni's restaurant. By Monday, if the operation proceeded as planned, most of them would be in federal custody. Maya methodically checked her secure phone, finding updated directives from her handler. Surveillance teams in position at all identified locations. Intelligence analysis confirms 16 primary targets. Extraction and arrest teams on standby for Sunday night operation. Your priority: maintain cover, confirm final delivery details, ensure Giovanni's safety. She acknowledged the instructions with a simple confirmation code, then concealed the phone in its hiding place. Her civilian phone displayed multiple missed calls from Giovanni, his anxiety evident in the timestamps 14 a.m., 4:27 a.m., 5:52 a.m. Maya dialed him immediately, professional concern overriding her instinct to maintain operational distance. "Giovanni, are you okay?" "Maya, thank God." His voice trembled with relief. "I've been so worried. After last night, Thompson let me go, but he said terrible things about using the restaurant for deliveries that aren't food." The old man's voice dropped to a frightened whisper. "I think he means drugs." "I'll be right over," Maya replied, already reaching for her jacket. "Don't do anything. Don't call anyone. Just wait for me." 20 minutes later, she pulled into the alley behind Hometown Treats. Giovanni's Buick sat alone in the early morning light, a thin layer of dew softening its weathered contours. Maya approached the back door cautiously, senses alert for any sign of surveillance or danger. Inside, she found Giovanni at his desk, unshaven and hollow-eyed, a half-empty bottle of grappa bearing witness to his sleepless night. When he saw Maya, he rose unsteadily, relief washing over his exhausted face. "You're safe," he breathed. "I was afraid they might have, after you delivered Thompson's message." Maya squeezed his shoulder gently, genuine compassion flowing beneath her operational facade. "I'm fine, Gio. They just wanted information." She guided him back to his chair. "Tell me exactly what happened after I left." Giovanni described how Thompson had kept him at the restaurant for nearly an hour, asking detailed questions about delivery schedules, storage areas, and after-hours security questions that confirmed Maya's assessment of their intentions. "He said starting Monday special deliveries would come through here," Giovanni concluded, his voice breaking. "That I would be paid well to look the other way. When I said no, he—" The old man's hand trembled as he touched a bruise blooming on his cheekbone previously hidden by shadow. Cold anger flared within Maya, quickly suppressed beneath professional detachment. The bruise was not severe enough to justify compromising the larger operation, but she filed it away, Another debt Thompson would pay when justice finally closed around him. "Listen carefully," she said, leaning close to ensure his complete attention. "You need to agree to whatever he wants." Giovanni's eyes widened. "What? You want me to become a drug dealer at my age?" "No," Maya shook her head emphatically. "I want you to pretend to agree. Buy time." She held his gaze steadily. "Trust me, Gio. This will be over soon. But until then, you need to stay safe, which means not antagonizing Thompson." "How can you be so calm about this?" Giovanni asked, studying her face with new intensity. "You're different this morning, like you've dealt with such things before." Maya hesitated, weighing operational security against the need to ensure Giovanni's cooperation. Finally, she offered a calculated half-truth. "Before Ridgefield, I made some bad choices, knew some dangerous people. I learned how they think." She clasped his weathered hands in hers. "That's how I know the safest path is to seem cooperative while finding a way out." The partial confession seemed to satisfy him, aligning with the hints she'd strategically dropped over the months. Giovanni nodded slowly, his shoulders straightening with renewed resolve. "What should I do?" "Call Thompson," Maya instructed. "Tell him you've reconsidered, that you'll cooperate. Apologize for hesitating. Then follow his instructions exactly, except when he's gone. You tell me everything." And then, Maya smiled reassuringly. "One step at a time. First make the call. I'll be right here." As Giovanni dialed the new number Thompson had given him last night, Maya stepped into the kitchen ostensibly to make coffee, but actually to activate her secure phone, sending a rapid update to her handler. Giovanni, compromised but cooperative, attempting to stabilize situation. Request additional protection detail for asset. The acknowledgement came swiftly. Protection detail authorized. Agents will maintain covert surveillance of asset until operation concludes. In the office, Giovanni was nodding repeatedly, his expression shifting between fear and forced agreeability as he spoke with Thompson. When he finally hung up, his hand was trembling, but a measure of relief softened his features. "He was almost pleasant," Giovanni said, sounding surprised. "Said he appreciated my business sense. He's sending someone this afternoon to discuss logistics." Maya nodded approvingly. "Good. When they come, be respectful but not servile, businesslike. Remember, in their eyes, this is just another transaction." For the next hour, she guided Giovanni through likely scenarios, coaching him on appropriate responses, building his confidence for the performance ahead. The restaurant would remain closed today, a reasonable precaution after the robbery, giving them space to prepare both practically and psychologically. "What about Sophia?" Giovanni asked suddenly. "She'll be in danger too." Maya had anticipated this concern. "Call her. Tell her to visit her sister in Portland for a few days. Family emergency. The fewer people involved, the safer everyone will be." While Giovanni made the call, Maya conducted another careful sweep of the restaurant, checking for surveillance devices that Thompson might have planted during his visits. Finding none, she made subtle preparations of her own positioning items that could serve as improvised weapons, if needed, identifying optimal defensive positions, mentally mapping escape routes. By noon, Giovanni had regained some of his composure, though worry still etched deep lines around his eyes. "You should go home," he told Maya. "Rest. I'll call when Thompson's people arrive." She shook her head firmly. "I'm staying. We're in this together now." The simple declaration brought unexpected moisture to the old man's eyes. "You're a good person, Maya. Better than this town deserves." The echo of his previous statement struck a chord of discomfort within her. If Giovanni knew her true purpose, The calculated deception, the emotional manipulation, the way she'd drawn him into a dangerous operation, would he still consider her good? Maya pushed the thought aside. Moral ambiguity was the constant companion of undercover work. The rightness of the larger mission had to outweigh the necessary deceptions along the way. At 2:17 p.m., a black SUV with tinted windows pulled into the restaurant parking lot. Maya recognized it immediately, the same vehicle she'd noted watching the restaurant days earlier. Two men emerged, and the gray-haired man from the safe house, whom Thompson had treated with unusual deference. "They're here," Maya said quietly, moving away from the window. "Remember what we discussed. Businesslike, but cooperative." Giovanni nodded, squaring his shoulders like a man preparing for battle. "I'm ready." The men entered without knocking, their confident stride, suggesting ownership rather than visitation. Slash's narrow eyes scanned the restaurant interior with professional assessment, while the older man focused immediately on Giovanni. "Mr. Rossi," he greeted, his voice cultured and precise, educated in a way Thompson's wasn't. "I'm Frederick Harmon. I believe we have some business arrangements to discuss." Maya watched from behind the counter, maintaining her cover as a concerned employee while absorbing every detail. Harmon moved with military precision despite his age, mid-60s trim and fit, with the hyper-awareness of someone accustomed to potential threats. Not just a criminal, but something more specialized. Former intelligence, perhaps, or special forces. "Please sit." Giovanni gestured to a table, his nervousness evident only in the slight tremor of his hand. Harmon settled into the chair with elegant economy of movement. "I'll be direct, Mr. Rossi. Your establishment provides certain logistical advantages for our organization. Legitimate food deliveries create perfect cover for our product movement. We're prepared to compensate you generously for your cooperation." "What exactly would be required of me?" Giovanni asked, following Maya's coaching perfectly. "Very little. Your delivery driver." Harmon glanced at Maya, his gaze assessing, "will handle the actual transfers. Your role is simply to allow after-hours access and not ask questions." He placed a small stack of $100 bills on the table. $2,000 per week. Cash. No complications with taxes or reporting. Giovanni stared at the money, then looked up with convincing resolve. "I want no trouble with the law. No violence in my restaurant." "A reasonable request," Harmon agreed smoothly. "We have no interest in drawing attention to our arrangement. Discretion benefits everyone." He slid the money across the table. "Consider this the first week's payment. A gesture of good faith." As Giovanni reluctantly accepted the cash, Slash approached Maya, his predatory gaze fixing on her with uncomfortable intensity. "Thompson says you're reliable," he remarked, suspicion lingering beneath the statement. "That's rare in this business." Maya met his eyes with carefully calibrated nervousness. "I just want to earn enough to get out of debt. No complications." Slash's mouth twisted in a humorless smile. "Everyone wants something simple until they get greedy. They get tea." He leaned closer, invading her personal space. "Just remember, people who disappoint this organization tend to disappear." "I understand," Maya replied quietly, allowing a visible swallow to convey appropriate fear. Across the room, Harmon was outlining the operational details to Giovanni: delivery schedules, security protocols, communication procedures. Maya absorbed every word, mentally cataloging information that would soon populate FBI arrest warrants and court documents. "Our first delivery arrives Monday evening, 11:30 p.m. Harmon concluded, rising from his chair with fluid grace. "Ms. Reynolds will receive specific instructions tomorrow night. The arrangement is straightforward as long as everyone maintains their assigned roles." The implied threat hung in the air, unnecessary, but predictable. Giovanni nodded his understanding, maintaining the facade of reluctant cooperation that Maya had helped him craft. As the men turned to leave, Harmon paused, his cold eyes sweeping the restaurant one final time. "Unfortunate business with the robbery," he remarked casually. "A strange coincidence, wouldn't you say?" Giovanni tensed visibly, but Maya stepped forward before he could respond. "Not really," she said, drawing Harmon's attention. "This neighborhood has had break-ins before. The convenience store down the block was hit last month." Harmon studied her face with unsettling thoroughness, searching for deception. Maya maintained eye contact, projecting sincerity through years of practiced discipline. After a moment, he nodded slightly. "Indeed. Well, we'll ensure no such incidents occur while our arrangement is in place. Consider it an additional benefit of our partnership." When the black SUV finally pulled away, Giovanni collapsed into a chair. Emotional exhaustion evident in every line of his body. "I've run this restaurant for 40 years, he whispered. "Never imagined it would become this." Maya squeezed his shoulder gently. "It won't be for long," she promised, the words carrying more truth than he could know. The remainder of the day passed in tense preparation. Maya guided Giovanni through securing the restaurant, backing up financial records, and preparing contingencies for various scenarios. She carefully balanced operational necessity against the need to maintain her cover, revealing enough tactical knowledge to be helpful without triggering Giovanni's suspicions about her true expertise. By evening, they had established a workable plan that would protect Giovanni while advancing the larger operation. As they shared a simple meal of leftover pasta in the quiet restaurant, Maya found herself struggling with an unfamiliar sensation, genuine attachment to a civilian asset. "You should go home," she told Giovanni, as darkness settled over Ridgefield. "Try to rest. Tomorrow will be challenging." The old man nodded, gathering his coat, with movements made heavy by worry. At the door, he paused, turning back to Maya with unexpected intensity. "Why are you doing this? Helping me this way? Putting yourself at risk?" The question caught her off guard, a rare occurrence for someone trained to anticipate every conversational turn. For a moment, the line between Maya Reynolds, the delivery driver, and Special Agent Reynolds of the FBI blurred uncomfortably. "Because it's right," she finally said, the simple answer containing more truth than any elaborate cover story could provide. Giovanni studied her face for a long moment, then nodded, as if confirming something to himself. "Be careful, Maya. These men, they're more dangerous than they appear." "I know," she replied softly. "So am I." The words slipped out before she could censor them, an uncharacteristic lapse in operational discipline. But Giovanni merely smiled sadly, interpreting the statement through the lens of her fabricated backstory, rather than recognizing the professional confidence it actually conveyed. After he left, Maya conducted another thorough sweep of the restaurant, ensuring no surveillance devices had been planted during Harmon's visit. Satisfied with the security, she updated her handler. "Target confirms Monday delivery. All assets in position. Giovanni remains secure and cooperative." The response was immediate and unexpected. "New intelligence received. Operation timeline accelerated. Primary takedown now scheduled for Sunday 2200 hours. Report to Command Center at 1800 for final briefing." Maya stared at the message, quickly processing the implications. Accelerated timelines increased risk, but often responded to opportunities or threats that field operatives couldn't see. Something had changed at a higher level, perhaps additional intelligence from another source or increased danger to the operation. She acknowledged the new directives and secured her phone, mentally shifting gears to accommodate the compressed schedule. Tomorrow would now be execution day, the culmination of months of careful work, the moment when Maya Reynolds, the delivery driver, would fade away, and Special Agent Reynolds would re-emerge to complete her mission. The thought brought a complex mixture of professional satisfaction and unexpected melancholy. Each undercover identity became in its way a version of herself, not entirely false, not completely separate from her core being. Shedding them always carried a strange sense of loss, like packing away clothes that no longer fit, but still held memories. Maya drove home through Ridgefield's quiet streets, noting the ordinary Saturday night activities with the heightened awareness of someone about to leave a familiar place. Teenagers gathered outside the ice cream parlor. An elderly couple walked hand in hand through the town square. A deputy sheriff's cruiser idled at the corner of Main and Elm, maintaining the illusion of small-town security. None of them knew that tomorrow their peaceful community would become the focal point of a major federal operation, that arrest teams were already staging in Portland, that surveillance units monitored key locations throughout the region, that the tranquility they took for granted existed at the pleasure of forces they never saw. At home, Maya initiated final preparation protocols, checking her service weapon, reviewing intelligence reports, memorizing target identities and locations. The satellite phone remained active on her kitchen table, ready to receive any last-minute updates or changes. Sleep would be essential for optimal performance tomorrow, but her mind refused to quiet, replaying possible scenarios, calculating contingencies, identifying potential failure points. The operation was solid, the intelligence reliable, the support comprehensive. Yet experience had taught her that no plan survived first contact with reality unaltered. At 2:14 a.m., her civilian phone chimed with an incoming text message. Maya checked it warily, surprised to find Thompson's name on the screen. "Change of plans. Need to see you. Warehouse. 9 a.m. tomorrow." The unexpected contact triggered immediate operational concerns. Was her cover compromised? Had something tipped Thompson off about the impending raid? Or was this merely an acceleration of their own timeline mirroring the FBI's adjusted schedule? Maya forwarded the message to her handler, adding her assessment: "Unusual contact outside established protocol. Possible compromise. Request guidance." The response took longer than usual, 17 minutes, during which Maya mentally prepared for multiple scenarios, including emergency extraction if necessary. Finally, her secure phone activated. "Intelligence suggests unrelated to our operation. Red Serpents experiencing internal pressure from Portland leadership. Proceed with meeting, but maintain heightened caution. Command Center now activated for continuous monitoring." The clarification was reassuring but not completely convincing. Maya's instincts, honed through 15 years of high-risk operations, whispered caution. She sent a final message before attempting sleep. Acknowledged. "If no contact by 10:30 hours, initiate emergency protocols." Morning arrived with steel-gray clouds threatening rain, the pristine blue of yesterday replaced by a ceiling of slate that better matched the tension humming through Maya's body. She dressed with particular care, selecting clothes that allowed maximum freedom of movement while concealing her slim backup weapon in an ankle holster, a precaution that violated strict operational guidelines but addressed the warning bells ringing in her subconscious. The button camera was in place, transmitting continuous feed to the command center. The panic button hair tie secured her ponytail. The encrypted tracker in her watch would allow extraction teams to pinpoint her location within 2 meters. Every possible precaution had been implemented. Yet, as Maya drove toward the warehouse at precisely 8:45 a.m., unease continued to prickle along her spine, the same instinct that had saved her life during the Arizona operation 3 years earlier, when a cartel lieutenant had made her cover moments before an extraction. The warehouse parking lot held more vehicles than expected for a Sunday morning. Thompson's red Charger, Harmon's black SUV, 3 unmarked vans, and several cars she didn't recognize. Heightened activity, unusual personnel concentration. The indicators of either significant organizational movement or potentially more concerning preparation for dealing with a security breach. Maya parked in plain sight, maintaining the confidence of someone with legitimate business. As she approached the entrance, she activated her secure phone's distress protocol with a simple code, not an emergency signal, but an alert to monitoring teams that the situation warranted heightened vigilance. The door opened before she could knock, revealing Viper's imposing silhouette against the warehouse interior. "You're early," he remarked, his tone neither approving nor condemning. "Traffic was light," Maya replied with calculated casualness. "Thompson said it was important." Viper nodded, stepping aside to allow her entry. Inside the warehouse hummed with activity, men moving equipment, loading vehicles, sealing crates. The atmosphere vibrated with purpose and urgency, similar to the night of the robbery, but more methodical, less reactive. Thompson stood at a central table with Harmon and 3 men Maya didn't recognize, all wearing the expensive suits and hyper-vigilant posture that marked them as upper-level management rather than street operators. The Portland leadership, she realized mentally, photographing their faces for later identification. "Maya," Thompson called, beckoning her forward with unusual enthusiasm. "Perfect timing." She approached with measured steps, absorbing details with each movement, the nervous energy in Thompson's gestures, the evaluative stares from the Portland men, Harmon's unreadable expression as he studied her approach. "You wanted to see me," she said, stopping at a professionally appropriate distance from the group. Thompson placed a proprietary hand on her shoulder, the gesture both possessive and presenting like a proud owner displaying a valuable acquisition. "Gentlemen, this is Maya Reynolds, the asset I mentioned." One of the suited men, silver-haired, tanned, with the confident bearing of someone accustomed to authority, stepped forward, extending his hand. "Charles Merrick," he introduced himself, his accent carrying the polished edges of old money and expensive education. "Ryan speaks highly of your adaptability." Maya shook his hand firmly, noting the perfect manicure, the subtle weight of his platinum watch, the quality of his tailoring, not just leadership ownership. This was no mid-level manager, but someone from the very top of the organization. "I just do what's needed," she replied modestly, maintaining her cover while inwardly cataloging this unexpected intelligence windfall. Charles Merrick, a name that would now become the centerpiece of the FBI's expanded investigation. "Precisely the attitude we value." Merrick smiled, the expression not reaching his eyes. "Particularly given our accelerated timeline." Maya felt Thompson tense beside her, his fingers tightening fractionally on her shoulder, a tell that confirmed her suspicion that the red serpents were indeed experiencing internal pressure, just as her handler had suggested. "What's changed?" she asked, directing the question to Thompson while remaining aware of every person in the room. "Opportunity," Harmon answered instead, his precise diction giving the word ominous weight. "A significant shipment arrives tonight rather than Monday. The restaurant will serve as the transfer point as previously arranged." Maya absorbed this information with outward calm, inwardly recognizing the operational implications. The Red Serpent's accelerated timeline now aligned almost perfectly with the FBI's adjusted schedule, a coincidence that raised both opportunities and concerns. "I'll need to inform Giovanni," she said, testing their reaction. "Make sure he's prepared." "Already handled," Thompson replied, a hint of smugness in his tone. "I spoke with him this morning. He's fully cooperative." The emphasis triggered a flicker of concern in Maya's mind. Something in Thompson's manner suggested more than simple communication had occurred, perhaps threats, possibly coercion. Giovanni's safety, always a priority, now became an immediate concern. "What exactly will I be doing?" she asked, refocusing the conversation on operational details. Merrick nodded to Harmon, who unfolded a detailed map of Ridgefield on the table. "The shipment arrives at 2200 hours," he explained, tracing routes with a manicured finger. "You'll meet our courier at the restaurant's back entrance, accept the packages, and store them in this freezer unit." He indicated a location on the restaurant's floor plan that Maya recognized as Giovanni's backup storage area. "Tomorrow morning," Harmon continued, "local distributors will arrive as normal delivery vendors. You'll transfer the packages to their vehicles according to this schedule." He handed her a typed list of times and code names. Maya scanned the document mentally, recording every detail while maintaining an expression of focused concentration. "Seems straightforward," she remarked deliberately, downplaying the operation's significance. "Anything else I should know?" Thompson exchanged glances with Merrick, some unspoken communication passing between them. "Just one thing," Thompson said, his tone shifting subtly. "Tonight's shipment is particularly valuable. Over 2 million in product. The kind of shipment that attracts attention." Meaning, Merrick interjected smoothly. "We've implemented additional security measures. A second team will be positioned here." He indicated a building across from the restaurant, "and here." Another mark on the map covering the rear approach. "Armed security," Maya clarified, making it a statement rather than a question. "Precisely," Merrick confirmed. "Nothing to concern yourself with. Simply focus on your specific responsibilities." The information represented critical intelligence that needed immediate relay to the FBI command center. Armed security teams would significantly alter tactical approaches for the planned raid. Maya needed to create an opportunity to activate her secure communication channel without raising suspicion. "I should go check on Giovanni," she suggested, projecting appropriate professional concern. "Make sure he's really on board with the new timeline." Thompson shook his head, something predatory flickering in his eyes. "No need. No, the old man understands his role perfectly now." The subtle emphasis raised Maya's internal alarm another notch. "Besides, we have more to discuss here. Operational security measures, communication protocols." For the next 47 minutes, Maya remained locked in detailed operational briefing, absorbing critical intelligence about the Red Serpent's structure, methods, and personnel, while growing increasingly concerned about her inability to relay this information to the FBI command center. The continuous button camera feed would capture much of it, but without context or her analysis, the data would be less actionable. Finally, Harmon concluded the briefing with characteristic precision. "You'll remain here until 2100 hours. Then Thompson will escort you to the restaurant for final preparations before the shipment arrives." The directive eliminated any possibility of external communication. Before the operation began, a significant operational complication that Maya now needed to manage. Her concern must have shown briefly on her face, because Thompson's eyes narrowed with sudden suspicion. "Problem?" he asked, the single word carrying layers of potential threat. Maya constructed her response carefully, balancing credible concern against any hint of resistance. "Just wondering about Giovanni. If he's nervous, he might make mistakes. Let me call him, at least reassure him." Thompson studied her face with uncomfortable intensity before finally nodding. "Fine. Use my phone. Speaker on." He extracted his cell phone from his jacket, dialed Giovanni's number, and placed the device on the table between them, the speaker icon illuminated. The phone rang 4 times before Giovanni's voice answered, uncharacteristically flat and subdued. "Hello, Giovanni, it's Maya," she said, keeping her tone casual while listening intently for any indication of duress. "Just checking in? Everything okay for tonight?" A pause slightly too long. "Yes, everything is prepared, as discussed." Maya detected the subtle tremor in his voice, the careful choice of words that suggested he wasn't alone or wasn't speaking freely. "Good. I'll be there around 9 to help with final arrangements." 9, Giovanni repeated tonelessly. "I'll be waiting." The call ended, leaving Maya with heightened concern and limited options. Something was wrong. Giovanni's manner suggested potential surveillance or coercion. The operational complications were multiplying, threatening both the investigation and civilian safety. Thompson reclaimed his phone, apparently satisfied. "See, the old man's on board. Nothing to worry about." Maya nodded, concealing her growing unease beneath a mask of professional focus. For the next several hours, she remained under constant observation as the warehouse transformed into a command center for the evening's operation. Men came and went. Vehicles were prepared weapons distributed with the efficiency of a military operation rather than a criminal enterprise. Throughout, Maya maintained her cover while mentally adjusting her assessment of the Red Serpent's organization. This was no ordinary drug distribution network, but something more sophisticated, paramilitary, in structure, intelligence-oriented, in operation. The FBI's planned raid would face greater resistance than originally anticipated. At 20:45 hours, Thompson approached with a Kevlar vest. "Put this on," he instructed, his manner now purely professional. "Standard procedure for high-value transfers." Maya accepted the vest without comment, noting that Thompson and several others were similarly equipped. The increased security measures further confirmed the operation's significance and the potential for violence if the FBI raid encountered unexpected resistance. 15 minutes later, she found herself in the passenger seat of Thompson's Charger, part of a 3-vehicle convoy heading toward hometown treats. Radio communication crackled between the vehicles using a coded language that suggested professional training beyond typical criminal organizations. "Security teams in position," reported a voice over the radio as they approached the restaurant. "Perimeter secure. No unusual activity." Thompson parked behind the restaurant, positioning the Charger for quick departure if necessary. As Maya exited the vehicle, she noted armed men already stationed at strategic locations around the building, professional security with military-grade weapons and communication equipment. The restaurant's back door stood partially open, warm light spilling onto the asphalt. Thompson gestured for Maya to enter first, following close behind with one hand resting near his concealed weapon. Inside, Maya found Giovanni sitting rigidly at his desk, his face pale, a darkening bruise visible on his cheekbone that hadn't been there yesterday. Standing behind him was Slash, one hand resting casually on the old man's shoulder, in a gesture that managed to communicate both threat and control. "Right on schedule," Slash remarked, his eyes cold as they assessed Maya. "The old man's been quite cooperative. Haven't you, Giovanni?" Giovanni nodded mechanically, his gaze meeting Maya's with a mixture of fear and apology that confirmed her worst suspicions. The situation had deteriorated significantly. Giovanni was now effectively a hostage rather than a reluctant collaborator. Maya maintained her cover with practiced discipline, showing appropriate concern without revealing the cold anger now crystallizing within her. "What happened to your face, Gio?" Before Giovanni could answer, Thompson interjected smoothly, "Just a little misunderstanding earlier. All resolved now." His tone carried a warning that closed the subject definitively. For the next hour, Maya helped prepare the restaurant according to Harmon's detailed instructions, securing doors, positioning lookouts, establishing the transfer area within the kitchen. Throughout, she maintained hyper-awareness of Giovanni's position, cataloging potential extraction routes and defensive positions should the operation require emergency protocols. At precisely 2155 hours, Thompson's radio crackled with an alert, "Courier approaching. ETA 3 minutes." The atmosphere immediately tensed, security personnel moving to predetermined positions with practiced efficiency. Thompson stationed himself near the back entrance, while Slash maintained his position near Giovanni, a human insurance policy against potential complications. "Remember," Thompson instructed Maya, his voice hard with authority. "Simple exchange, no unnecessary conversation, no examination of packages, transfer directly to designated storage." She nodded, projecting appropriate nervous tension, while inwardly calculating angles, distances, potential, cover the automatic assessment of a trained operative preparing for possible conflict. The button camera continued transmitting, providing the FBI command center with real-time intelligence that would inform their approach. Headlights swept across the back wall as a vehicle pulled into the alley. Radio confirmation followed immediately. Courier arrived, proceeding with transfer. The back door opened to admit a wiry man in nondescript clothing, carrying a large duffel bag that he handled with exaggerated care. Behind him, a second courier entered with an identical bag, both men moving with the hypervigilance of those carrying extremely valuable cargo. "Verification code," Thompson demanded, hand resting on his concealed weapon. "Serpent's Tooth, Autumn Harvest." The first courier responded without hesitation. Thompson nodded once, then gestured toward Maya. "Transfer to her. She'll secure the packages." The couriers approached cautiously, their assessing gazes taking in Maya's unimposing figure with poorly concealed skepticism. She met their eyes, directly extending her hands to accept the first duffel with professional confidence. "Careful," the courier warned, surrendering the bag with obvious reluctance. "Contents sensitive to impact." Maya nodded, adjusting her grip to accommodate the unexpected weight, approximately 15 kilograms, she estimated automatically. The second bag followed, slightly lighter, but requiring similar careful handling. "Secure them now." Thompson directed, his attention divided between Maya and the ongoing radio communications reporting security status around the perimeter. Maya carried the bags to the designated freezer unit, conscious of multiple sets of eyes tracking her movement. Inside the walk-in freezer, she placed both duffels exactly as instructed, noting security seals and electronic tracking devices attached to each, sophisticated measures that further confirmed the shipment's significance. As she exited the freezer, a sudden burst of radio communication drew everyone's attention. "Unknown vehicle approaching from the east. Slow speed, lights off." Thompson tensed visibly, hand moving to his weapon. "Description: dark sedan, single occupant, maintaining distance. Weight vehicle has stopped, approximately 200 meters from perimeter." The atmosphere shifted instantly from controlled tension to alert readiness. Thompson issued rapid commands. "Security teams maintain position. Possible surveillance. Prepare for potential police intervention." Maya processed this development with professional calm, recognizing the vehicle likely belonged to FBI surveillance standard procedure for monitoring high-risk operations. However, its detection now threatened to accelerate the timeline unpredictably. "Should we abort?" Slash asked, his hand tightening visibly on Giovanni's shoulder, causing the old man to wince. Thompson hesitated, awaiting further radio updates. After 30 seconds of tense silence, the radio crackled again. "Vehicle departing area, moving away from perimeter at normal speed." Collective tension ebbed slightly, though Thompson maintained his alert stance. "Continue monitoring. Could be coincidence, could be law enforcement reconnaissance." He turned to Maya, studying her face with renewed intensity. "Anything unusual happened today? Anyone ask questions about the restaurant? About deliveries?" "Nothing," she replied truthfully, meeting his gaze with appropriate concern. "Sunday's usually quiet. We were closed all day anyway." Thompson nodded slowly, apparently satisfied. "Courier transfer complete. Now we wait." Security teams maintain position until distribution begins tomorrow. The implications were immediately clear to Maya. Armed personnel would remain on-site overnight, significantly complicating the FBI's planned raid. Giovanni would remain effectively a hostage, increasing civilian risk factors exponentially. She needed to relay this critical intelligence to the command center, but remained under constant observation. The operation was approaching a decision point where her cover identity might need to be sacrificed to ensure overall mission success and civilian safety. "I should check the restaurant's front entrance," Maya suggested, projecting professional thoroughness. "Make sure everything's secure." Thompson considered briefly, then nodded. "Take Viper with you." The complication was unwelcome, but not insurmountable. Maya moved toward the dining area, Viper following close behind his bulky presence, a constant reminder of her limited maneuverability. As they entered the darkened restaurant, Maya carefully positioned herself to block Viper's direct line of sight, then activated her panic button with a subtle motion disguised as adjusting her hair. The signal would alert the FBI command center to accelerate their timeline, the pre-arranged code for "civilian in immediate danger, immediate intervention required." "Everything looks secure," she reported, completing a thorough check of doors and windows while mentally preparing for what would follow. The FBI's standard response time to a panic signal was between 7 and 12 minutes, depending on team positioning and environmental factors. When they returned to the kitchen, Maya found Thompson engaged in intense radio communication, his expression progressively darkening as he received updates from perimeter security. "Multiple vehicles approaching from different directions," he reported tersely. "Coordinated movement, professional spacing. This isn't coincidence." The atmosphere crystallized into combat readiness. Thompson issuing rapid-fire orders: "Secure the product. Prepare for potential engagement. Bring the old man. He's our insurance policy." Maya watched as Giovanni was roughly pulled to his feet, fear etched deeply into his weathered face. Positioned himself behind the old man, one arm locked across his chest, the other holding a pistol pressed against his ribs, standard hostage control technique professionally executed. The moment had arrived where Maya's dual identities could no longer coexist. With Giovanni's life now in immediate danger, operational priorities shifted definitively from intelligence gathering to civilian protection and threat neutralization. Thompson turned to Maya, suspicion now evident in his narrowed gaze. "Strange timing," he remarked, studying her face with new intensity. "Almost like someone knew our schedule." Before she could respond, the radio erupted with urgent communication. "Multiple armed individuals approaching from all sides. Professional formation. Military or law enforcement tactics. FBI search warrant. Nobody move." The command echoed through the building as tactical teams breached multiple entry points simultaneously, the coordinated assault put it, executing with textbook precision. In the split-second confusion that followed, Maya made her decision. As Thompson reached for his weapon, she moved with explosive speed, 15 years of combat training crystallizing into pure reflex. Her first strike targeted his extended wrist, a precision blow that sent the weapon clattering to the floor. Thompson's eyes widened with shock and rage recognition dawning too late, as Maya transitioned seamlessly into a follow-up strike. Her right hand grasped his reaching arm, twisting it in a specific anatomical pathway that weaponized the limb's own structure against it. With practiced leverage, she rotated her entire body, creating torque that transferred kinetic energy directly into Thompson's shoulder joint. The distinctive pop of dislocating bone was audible even amid the chaos of the FBI raid. Thompson's face contorted with pain and disbelief as his arm hung uselessly at an unnatural angle. "Federal agent," Maya stated with cold precision, completing her transformation from undercover operative to tactical asset. "You're under arrest." Before Thompson could process this revelation, Maya was already moving toward her primary objective, civilian protection. Slash still held Giovanni in the hostage position, his weapon now pressed against the old man's temple as he backed toward the exit. "Stay back!" Slash shouted, desperation making his voice crack. "I'll kill him!" Maya approached with calculated deliberation, her hands raised in a non-threatening posture that disguised her tactical positioning. "There's nowhere to go," she stated calmly. "The building is surrounded. Release him, and you'll live through this." Slash's eyes darted frantically between Maya and the tactical team members now securing the kitchen area. "You're a Fed," he spat, comprehension and rage battling across his features. The whole time, Maya continued her measured approach, maintaining eye contact while closing the distance with imperceptible increments. "Special Agent Maya Reynolds, FBI. And right now, I'm the only chance you have of walking out of here instead of being carried." Giovanni's eyes reflected complex emotions, shock at Maya's revealed identity, fear of the weapon pressed against his head, and something like understanding, as pieces of a puzzle finally aligned in his mind. "Last chance," Maya warned, now within optimal striking distance. "Release him." Slash's finger tensed on the trigger, the micro-expression that signaled his decision before conscious action could follow. In that fractional moment, Maya launched forward, her movement a blur of precise violence. Her left hand struck Slash's wrist with anatomical precision, disrupting the neural pathways between intention and action just as his finger began to apply pressure to the trigger. Simultaneously, her right hand grasped his jaw, applying specific pressure to mandibular nerve points that momentarily short-circuited voluntary muscle control. The combined attack created the critical microsecond window needed for her follow-up strike. A precision blow to the brachial plexus that sent cascading paralysis through Slash's dominant arm. The weapon fell from suddenly nerveless fingers as Maya completed the neutralization sequence, rotating her body to apply targeted pressure against Slash's elbow joint. Like Thompson before him, Slash experienced the distinctive agony of anatomical structures separating under precise leverage. Unlike Thompson, he received no verbal confirmation of his arrest, only the cold certainty of handcuffs, as tactical team members secured him against the floor. Giovanni stood frozen in shock, his eyes fixed on Maya, with stunned disbelief. You're FBI," she confirmed gently, guiding him to a chair as tactical operations continued around them. "I'm sorry for the deception, Gio. It was necessary." The old man sank into the seat, trembling with reaction as the truth settled over him. All this time, the deliveries, the conversations, all fake. Maya knelt beside him, meeting his eyes directly. "The mission was real. The details were adapted. But my concern for you and this restaurant, that was never false." Around them, the FBI operation proceeded with professional efficiency. Suspects secured evidence, documented, perimeter established. Harmon was led past in handcuffs, his cold eyes meeting Maya's with grudging professional recognition. One operative acknowledging another across the dividing line of law and criminality. A familiar figure approached Special Agent Carter, Maya's handler and longtime mentor. At 50, his weathered face carried the permanent lines of someone who had spent decades in high-stress operations, but his eyes held genuine warmth as they assessed Maya's condition. "Agent Reynolds," he greeted formally, then softened. "You okay?" Maya nodded, the adrenaline of combat now receding to leave professional satisfaction in its wake. "Target secured, civilian safe, mission parameters achieved." Carter smiled slightly at the textbook response. You dislocated Thompson's shoulder. He resisted arrest, Maya replied evenly, though a hint of satisfaction colored her tone. And Slash's elbow. He was threatening a civilian with deadly force. Carter's smile widened fractionally. Remind me never to get on your bad side. He turned to Giovanni, his manner shifting to formal courtesy. Mr. Rossi, I'm Special Agent Carter, FBI. On behalf of the Bureau, I want to thank you for your unwitting assistance in this operation. We'll need a formal statement, but that can wait until tomorrow. Giovanni looked between Carter and Maya, still processing the evening's revelations. The robbery. That was you, too. Carter nodded. Controlled intervention, designed to protect you while advancing our investigation. And the mysterious bank deposit. At this, Carter glanced at Maya with raised eyebrows. Bank deposit. Maya maintained a carefully neutral expression. Operational necessity. Full details in my report. Carter's eyes narrowed slightly, recognizing an unauthorized action, but choosing to address it later. We'll discuss that privately. He turned back to Giovanni. A medical team will be here shortly to check your injuries. In the meantime, is there someone we can call for you? My wife, Giovanni replied, his voice strengthening as shock gave way to relief. Sophia. She's in Portland. As Carter stepped away to arrange the call, Giovanni turned to Maya, studying her with new awareness. 15 years of undercover work, he said quietly. That wasn't part of your cover story, was it? Maya's eyebrows rose slightly. How did you know that, when you fought Thompson, there was no hesitation, no amateur luck, just, he gestured expressively, perfect violence? That takes more than training. It takes experience. She acknowledged the observation with a slight nod. 15 years, 5 major operations. This one makes 6. Giovanni was silent for a moment, absorbing this information. The delivery girl who could dislocate shoulders with a twist, he finally said, a hint of his usual humor returning. Sounds like one of those internet stories nobody believes. The best covers are the ones nobody questions, Maya replied, the professional maxim carrying the weight of experience behind it. Who looks twice at someone bringing them dinner? Around them, the operation continued its methodical progression. Evidence collected, suspects, processed intelligence, analyzed. Thompson was led past his dislocated arm, now immobilized in a tactical sling, his eyes burning with hatred as they fixed on Maya. You'll regret this, he spat, straining against his escorts. You have no idea who you're dealing with. Maya regarded him calmly, the delivery girl persona now completely absent. Ryan Thompson, a.k.a. Knuckles. Dishonorable discharge from Marines 2017, multiple assault convictions. Mid-level operator for the Red Serpents organization. She smiled slightly. Trust me, we know exactly who we're dealing with. Thompson's face contorted with impotent rage as he was led away, his threats fading into the operational background noise that Maya had learned to filter out years ago. Carter returned, nodding to Maya. Extraction team ready when you are. We need you at command center for immediate debrief. This operation just expanded significantly. Merrick, Maya stated rather than asked. Exactly. His presence here changes everything. This is now a multi-state federal case with international implications. Carter glanced at his watch. Transportation leaves in 10 minutes. Maya nodded, then turned back to Giovanni. I need a moment, she told Carter, who acknowledged with understanding before stepping away to coordinate ongoing operations. Alone with Giovanni, Maya found herself unexpectedly searching for words, a rare occurrence for someone trained in manipulation of language and emotion. I'm sorry I couldn't tell you the truth, she finally said. Operational security. Saved my restaurant, my life, and probably this town. Giovanni interrupted, reaching out to grasp her hand. with surprising strength. No apologies needed. Maya squeezed his weathered fingers gently. The Red Serpent's operation is completely dismantled. They won't trouble you again. And you? Giovanni asked, perception sharpening his gaze. Where does Maya Reynolds go when this is over? The question touched on the bittersweet reality of undercover work, the impermanence of identities, the transitory nature of connections formed under false pretenses. Another assignment. Another cover. Maya smiled slightly. Another restaurant, maybe. Giovanni nodded slowly, understanding more than she had explicitly stated. Whoever they are, he said softly, they'll be fortunate to have you, even if they never know who you really are. A tactical team member approached, signaling that their time was up. Maya rose, professional demeanor settling around her like a familiar garment. Agent Reynolds, Giovanni called as she turned to leave. When she looked back, his eyes held a mixture of gratitude and something like paternal pride. You were right, you know. About what? You said it wouldn't be for long. His smile reached his eyes for the first time that evening. And you said things have a way of working out. Maya allowed herself a genuine smile in return, not the calculated expression of Maya the delivery driver, nor the professional mask of Special Agent Reynolds, but something that belonged uniquely to the woman who existed at the intersection of those identities. Take care of yourself, Gio, she said softly, and say goodbye to Sophia for me. Outside, the operational perimeter hummed with professional activity evidence teams cataloging the drug shipment, tactical units securing the area intelligence officers, conducting preliminary interviews with detained suspects. Maya moved through this familiar choreography with the quiet confidence of someone returning to their natural environment after a long absence. Carter waited beside an unmarked SUV holding open a tactical jacket with FBI emblazoned across the back. As Maya approached, he handed it to her with a knowing smile. Welcome back, Agent Reynolds. She slipped the jacket on, feeling the weight of her true identity settling back into place. The transformation was complete. Maya Reynolds' delivery driver for Hometown Treats now officially ceased to exist. Extraction to Portland, then immediate debrief with the task force, Carter explained as they entered the vehicle. The intelligence you gathered has broken open 3 separate investigations. Directors already calling this one of the most successful undercover operations of the decade. Maya nodded, professional satisfaction tempered by the complex emotions that always accompanied the end of a deep cover assignment. Merrick's presence changes the scope significantly. The organization is clearly larger than initial intelligence suggested. Which is why we need your analytical skills at headquarters immediately, Carter confirmed. Your observational details from the past 8 months will be crucial for mapping the expanded network. As the SUV pulled away from Hometown Treats, Maya allowed herself one final glance at the restaurant, the simple building that had served as the center of her operational world for nearly a year. Giovanni stood in the doorway, watching her departure with a raised hand of farewell. Maya returned the gesture, knowing it represented not just goodbye to Giovanni, but to the identity she had inhabited, the delivery driver who had become, in ways both calculated and unexpected, part of a community. The restaurant receded in the distance as the SUV accelerated toward the interstate, carrying Special Agent Maya Reynolds back toward the world of tactical briefings, intelligence analysis, and operational planning that constituted her real life. You did good work here, Carter remarked correctly, reading her momentary introspection. Saved lives, protected civilians, dismantled a dangerous organization. Maya nodded, allowing the professional assessment to refocus her thoughts. The melancholy of shedding an undercover identity was familiar territory, a necessary transition cost, rather than a permanent loss. So, Carter continued after a comfortable silence, about that unauthorized bank transaction. Maya's mouth curved in a slight smile as she turned from the window. Operational necessity to maintain civilian cooperation. Full justification in my report. Carter's weathered face creased with knowing amusement, which I'm sure will be both comprehensive and persuasive. He shook his head slightly. 15 years, and you still can't quite color within the lines. Adaptability is an operational asset, she countered, quoting one of Carter's own frequent teachings back to him. Touché. He checked his secure phone as it signaled an incoming message. Portland Command Center reports all targets in custody. Operation complete success across all objectives. Maya absorbed this confirmation with professional satisfaction. Another mission completed. Another criminal organization dismantled another community. Protected from shadows most civilians never perceived. As the lights of Ridgefield faded behind them, replaced by the darkness of rural highway stretching toward Portland, Maya Reynolds began the familiar process of mental reorganization, filing away the experiences, connections, and insights of her most recent identity while preparing for whatever assignment would come next. Somewhere ahead, another cover awaited, another life to temporarily inhabit, another community that would never know the woman behind the carefully constructed facade. But for now, in the liminal space between identities, Special Agent Maya Reynolds allowed herself the quiet pride of a job well done and the private acknowledgement that sometimes, even in the shadows of undercover work, authentic connections formed that transcended operational parameters. Giovanni had been right about one thing: she was good at what she did, better than Ridgefield or Thompson ever deserved. And as for dislocating shoulders with a twist, well, that was just one of many skills that made her who she was, the woman behind the delivery girl, the agent behind the smile, the shadow operative who moved through the world protecting those who would never know her real name. Just another day in the life of a chameleon who found her truest self in the art of becoming someone else.